Welcome to the fourth annual in 2024 Brandon's World Merry Christmas Special, our biggest show of the year, where we recap the year of 2024 in sports. Today, you guys are going to hear my top 10 sports stories of the entire year. Then, me and my good friend Jalen Sandvik, who has not only been a guest host on this show, I've not only interviewed him on this show, he's also been a guest co host, of course, over at Championship Rings, which we are in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live. That's the platform that I also do Championship Rings off of course. Jalen and I are going to play one of your favorite games, fair or foul. True or false in the sports world, but fair or foul. Then I will do a separate awards category for WWE, the old fashioned WWE Slammy Awards for 2024. Yes, I am bringing the Slammy Awards back. Then, for the first time in 3 years, my best friend in the entire world, the man that I was at WWE SummerSlam with 2024, Andrew Baca, joins the program. And finally, I will give you my 2025 predictions in sports. So strap in, grab your favorite drink for me right here. It is hot cocoa. Very Christmassy. And let's get to the Brandon's World 2024 Merry Christmas Special. Up first is my 2024 top stories of the year in sports. 2024 was a year in sports I will never forget. From the Kansas City Chiefs going back-to-back Super Bowl champions to the Boston Celtics winning it on the hardwood to Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the World Series to Caitlin Clark revolutionizing the WNBA and women's sports as a whole. It was a year full of a lot of off the court, off the field drama as well. Of course, with the expansion of the college football playoffs, we talked a lot about the media rights deals involving not only the NBA, but also AEW and WWE as well. So without further ado, let's get to my top 10 sports stories of 2024. And just for note, this does not include professional wrestling, as of course later on in the Brand's World Christmas special, we will be covering the WWE Slammy Awards for 2024. So this is just, sports specific outside of professional wrestling. Hey guys, it's me popping in here because as I said when I started recording my top 2024 moments in sports, if Bill Belichick were to get the North Carolina head coaching job, it would be unequivocally the number one moment in sports in 2024, even over Caitlin Clark, even over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs going back to back, even over the NBA, WWE, AEW media rights deals. I talked about this last week on the show. I'll put the link to the show in the description. Bill Belichick going to North Carolina absolutely shocked me. It absolutely floored me. It was something I did not suspect would happen. So, Bill Belichick going to North Carolina is my number one sports story of the year. And so, with that, ignore everything else I said about 10 through 1 year in the top 10 sports stories of 2024. Take out number 10. Everything moves up one because slotted into that number one spot is Bill Belichick going to North Carolina. At number 10, I'm going to go with the U.S. men winning the gold medal in the 2024 Paris Olympics. The reason why this made my list is because we talked about with all the talent on that team, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, obviously the drama that came with Jason Tatum not playing a lot, Joel Embiid playing big minutes for Team USA down the stretch. Obviously, Anthony Edwards was on that team. but it was basically the fact that this U.S. team was going to be the last great U.S. men's basketball team. And there was obviously a question there at the end whether they could win it. Steph Curry coming through huge in the last few games, burying threes left and right. And with the NBA, with these guys, like Victor Wembanyama and all these international players, Luka Doncic, of course, Nikola Jokic, with all these international players and the NBA becoming more global, and with our U.S. stars, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, with that probably being their last Olympics, was this the last great U.S. men's team, which is historically obviously dominated in the Olympics? So that is why it is number 10 on my list. At number 9, Bronny James being drafted into the NBA, and simultaneously LeBron James and Bronny James becoming the first ever father son duo to play together on an NBA court. This is something that we had anticipated for years, and it finally happened. Something that maybe a lot of us thought maybe it couldn't have happened. Maybe LeBron would have to leave the Lakers. Maybe LeBron could not last. And the fact that LeBron James now, at age 40, is shattering the mold with athletes in the NBA, because we don't see NBA guys playing into their 40s the way Tom Brady did, the way Drew Brees did, the way Aaron Rodgers is doing right now in the NFL. We just don't see it in the NBA. This was talked about really ever since LeBron left the Cavs and joined the Lakers in 2018. And with everything that Bronny James went through, obviously with his cardiac arrest at USC, his draft stock slipping it into the second round, I don't care whether or not Bronny James is going to be a good NBA player or not. The fact that, again, out of everybody in the world, LeBron James and his son got to be the first father son duo to ever play together in the NBA game. That was a historic moment that to me does belong on this list. Number 8, after winning the college football national championship in dominating fashion. What a team it was. Jim Harbaugh returns to the NFL, and simultaneously, Bill Belichick leaves New England. And by the way, for the record, at the time of this recording, Bill Belichick has interviewed for the North Carolina position. If Bill Belichick gets that, to me, it will be undisputed the number one sports story of 2024. But this is a weird one because at the end of 2023, when I did my 2024 predictions in sports, I said Bill Belichick was going to leave New England. But ironically, I did not think he would take a year off. I thought his next destination would be where Jim Harbaugh ended up in the Los Angeles Chargers. You took a look at that roster. Obviously, we knew Brandon Staley was an absolute disaster, and he was a defensive head coach. And you look at what Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, who came with him from Michigan, with the same talent, and the Chargers have a top 5 defense in the National Football League. Jim Harbaugh has taken a team that was, mostly led by Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's going to end up this year with the most passing yards in the NFL for someone's first, 5, 6 years in the league in NFL history. He took a very talented team and he said, we don't need Keenan Allen. We don't need Mike Williams. You know what we need? We need Gus Edwards. We need J.K. Dobbins. I'll draft Vlad McConkey in the third round, and we will move the football. We'll draft Joe Alt in the first round as well, our right tackle on Notre Dame, and we're going to be a physical football team. And again, Jesse Minter with the same talent, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, etc. The Chargers went from a laughingstock defense to one of the best defenses in the league. And for Belichick, we all knew this was coming. I thought it should have been a year earlier. The New England roster still is a complete mess somewhat, though I think now they have their answer at quarterback with Drake May. Mac Jones was not the answer quarterback, and Belichick could not draft a receiver to save his life. And the do your job New England Patriot culture mantra that was created under Bill evaporated the minute Tom Brady walked out that door. But the fact that Belichick is the greatest head coach, or at least the greatest defensive head coach ever, spent 23 years in one place in New England. Obviously, it's a major story. It's the thing that we knew that was coming. But not only that, two major NFL head coaching moves going into this season was Harbaugh returning to the NFL and Belichick leaving New England. Number seven, the Celtics. That team ran for the Eastern Conference. They dominated the postseason, losing only 3 games, winning the NBA championship, and many of those games, especially in the finals against Dallas, completely wiped them out. Jason Tatum, who was drafted obviously in 2017, Jaylen Brown in 2018, they finally broke through. They finally got over the hump. This iteration of the Celtics team, who has went through multiple coaches, Brad Stevens, Ime Udoka, all the way to Joe Mazzulla. This team then they moved on from the likes of Marcus Smart in the offseason, acquiring Drew Holiday after the Milwaukee Bucks went out and got Damian Lillard. It really did open up the door for then Portland to send Drew to Boston. He was the biggest catalyst, I think, of them winning the championship outside of, the two guys and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. You add in Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and those guys just not only do they play good defense, but they outshout you from the 3 point line nearly every game, and they wiped the floor with the Eastern Conference, taking out Miami, taking out Cleveland, sweeping Indiana, gentlemen sweeping Dallas, and say what you want about the Boston Celtics cupcake run, if some of you want to call it, to the NBA Finals. That was historically, one of the top maybe 15 teams ish of all time. Number six. It has to make the list, even though it was a complete disaster, which is why it's not higher on the list. Mike Tyson returns to the octagon and fights Jake Paul. As I said after the fight, it was more of a professional wrestling match, in my opinion, than a boxing match. But, ladies and gentlemen, 60 million people watched this fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Think about that. 60 million people just to watch an 8 round fight where Mike Tyson threw a couple punches. Obviously, the whole world was talking about it. It was a big test for Netflix, who was going to get the NFL on Christmas Day games this year, who was obviously streaming Raw on Netflix starting January 6th, 2025. But yeah, Paul Tyson objectively was one of the biggest events of the year, for worse or for better. Number five, how about Shohei Ohtani? He goes essentially across the county in Los Angeles from the Angels to the Dodgers. And the LA Dodgers win, in my opinion, their first legitimate World Series since 1981, coming back in Game 5 when they were already up 3-1 in the World Series against the Yankees, against Garrett Cole, the ace. And the Dodgers, down 5-0 in the fifth inning, rallied. They win, like I said, their first World Series since 2020, but the first legitimate one in my mind since 1981. Who would ever forget the Dodgers trailing 2-1 against the San Diego Padres in the NLDS, shutting them out back to back games, getting to the NLCS, and then, of course, game one, Gibby, meet Freddie. Freddie Freeman, games 1 through 4, 4 straight games with a home run in the World Series. And the LA Dodgers, who were one of the best, if not the best team in baseball all year long, finally essentially break through thanks to Shohei Ohtani, who has never made the playoffs until this year. Not only that, but a 50-50 season, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases from maybe the modern day Babe Ruth, maybe the GOAT, the Dodgers. An incredible story. One guy, Shohei Ohtani, completely flipped the fortunes of that franchise. A historic season, resulting in a historic championship. Speaking of historic, college football landscape changes at number 4 on my list of top 10 sports stories of 2024. Not only does Nick Saban retire and leave Alabama, opening up the door for Kalen DeBoer, but the expansion of the college football playoff from 4 teams to 12 teams, to the big league expansions of the SEC, adding Texas and Oklahoma, to the Big Ten expansions of Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington, the transfer portal, the NIL finally taking effect, where teams like Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech could take Alabama or Georgia, let's say, their fourth best receiver, and make them their number one receiver. And the college football landscape may have changed forever. Now we have a 12-team college football playoff where we have conferences that are getting buys. We have seeding that makes no sense. We have Alabama at 3 losses. We have Georgia potentially at 3 losses, who may not get in to the college football playoff depending on what happens in their conference championship games at the time of this recording. College football has been an absolute circus. We've gotten big games: Penn State, USC, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia, taking place in September. And as I mentioned, a 12-team free for all CFP where nobody knows what's going to happen once we start the college football playoff. At the time of this recording, it starts tomorrow. And man, college football, as I keep saying, may never be the same. Okay, number 3, media rights deals. I'm talking NBA. I'm talking NFL, Netflix, Christmas Day. I'm talking WWE, Monday Night Raw to Netflix in January 2025. Friday Night SmackDown leaving Fox, as Fox now has acquired Big Ten/Big 12 Friday Night College Football. And Friday Night SmackDown going back to the USA Network. How about NXT moving to the CW? And of course, AEW finally getting a new media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. And maybe the biggest one for all of you, if you're not really a wrestling fan, in the NBA on TNT will no longer exist at the end of this 2024-2025 NBA season. The NBA on Amazon Prime will be born. The NBA on NBC/Peacock will return. How many months did we speculate about these media rights deals, right? For the NBA, for WWE, for AEW, for each of them. What's it going to look like? Are they going to move on in the NBA's case from TNT? Is TNT going to come back and get a fourth package? Is Amazon really involved? For Raw, there was a lot of talk about, could Raw go to Amazon Prime? Could it go to FX? Could even ESPN or ABC get involved? And no, Monday Night Raw is going to the platform where Jake Paul and Mike Tyson executed 60 million viewers. And Monday Night Raw, along with the entire WWE International Library of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, everything like that in the UK and beyond, will be available on Netflix. And if this works, it may be the biggest media rights deal of them all, because it may open up other sports like the NFL, who is again moving their games on Christmas off broadcast television, something I never thought they would do, to a streaming platform. We know Thursday Night Football is on Amazon Prime. Christmas Day is a whole nother level of viewership. And I'm telling you right now, the NFL better hope that it works out on Netflix, because if it doesn't, they're going to get a whole lot of unhappy customers. Media rights, maybe one of the biggest things that we talked about throughout the entire sports year and even now in 2024. Number two, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs come back in the fourth quarter of Super Bowl 58 against the San Francisco 49ers and win their back-to-back Super Bowl title. Don't need to explain anymore. And do I have to explain anymore about the number one sports story of 2024? Folks, when is the last time I talked WNBA or women's college basketball on Brandon's World? Before 2024, I'll tell you that answer. The answer is literally 0%, never in my life. One woman, Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was the sports story of 2024. Maybe forever revolutionized not just women's basketball, but women sports. Yes, the WNBA is growing. Yes, college basketball is growing. But the viewership has not been as strong when Caitlin Clark is not on the court. I'm talking Caitlin Clark is significantly outdrawing NBA playoff games, NBA regular season games, Major League Baseball, wild card, playoff games, being outdrawn by this woman, Caitlin Clark. I'm talking about the men's NCAA March Madness basketball tournament. Guess what, folks? This year, it was outdrawn by that woman. The WNBA draft was more viewed than the NBA draft. Think about all those numbers I put in perspective. Caitlin Clark is up there, in my opinion, already with Steph Curry, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tiger Woods as the biggest draws right now in all of sports. Welcome back to the Brandon's World Merry Christmas special. And here now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to play Fair or Foul, what is now slowly becoming a Brandon's World tradition here at the end of the year with my good buddy. He hosted this show once previously this year. He's also been a guest on Championship Rings as well as Brandon's World. The one, the only Detroit Lions fan, Jalen Samvik.
Boys, girls, everybody, it's Christmas time. I got some questions to throw Brandon through a loop. I'm ready. I know you guys are ready. You know, last year was a lot of foul, but I don't know how he's going to lean this year. So let's do it.
I don't remember that. Off the top of my head, I really don't. I know last year we did Fair or Foul. We did it earlier in the year in June or July when we did Buy, Sell, or Hold, and then it went over so well with our audience. I wanted to do it for the Christmas special, and it sort of stuck. So before Jalen starts, I do want to tell everybody that I told Jalen that, you know, usually when we do these, we've done in the past an NBA-centric episode, we've done an NFL-centric episode. Because this is all going to go up as one clip, I've told Jalen he can move around topics. He can talk about 2024. He can talk about 2025. He can talk about something that's not sports related. That anything was fair game. We're going to go about an hour here, and I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can in that time frame. So without further ado, let's do it. The first question, fair or foul?
First question, coming in hot off of my PC here. A little bit off air, we talked about this. This one's about Dan Campbell.
Okay.
Dan Campbell has Coach of the Year locked down, no question.
Ooh. Okay. You know what? Off rip, don't be mad at me, but I'm gonna
Oh,
say foul. And
wow.
here's why. Here is why. Because I don't think Coach of the Year necessarily goes to the team with the best record. And we've seen that happen in years past. I think Coach of the Year usually goes to the team that nobody expects to either be really good, A, or B, a team that nobody thought would make the playoffs is going to be in the playoffs. And so I love Dan Campbell. I love the Lions story, but there are a lot of people that picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl this year. So I think the Lions' expectations to this point have been met. My three Coach of the Year candidates are Mike Tomlin from Pittsburgh, Sean Payton in Denver, and Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. I think that those are three teams. I thought Denver was going to be good. I did not think they were going to be a playoff team. They have over exceeded expectations, in my opinion. Pittsburgh has definitely over exceeded expectations. I did not think there was a shot in hell they could win that division, even though they are the Steelers. And then Minnesota, who I thought would be the best fourth place team potentially of all time, is there. I also think Mike McDonald in Seattle, what he's done, that group is in first place in the division. Incredible. So those are candidates that I think more under the radar, more so than the Lions. It's not that Dan has not done a great job, Jalen. It's that I think by definition, Coach of the Year is sort of that underdog team.
Notice how you said it won't be Dan Campbell because we're exceeding expectations and we were supposed to be here. Well, you notice how when everyone's talking about Coach of the Year, they're not putting Nick Sirianni there?
Oh, you're a funny guy. I get you. Okay.
I hate Nick Sirianni.
Well, hopefully for both of our fan bases, we will be seeing Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell have a competition to see who can make a worse fourth down decision in the NFC Championship game.
He won the game. He won the game, Brandon. He knew that they couldn't stop Jordan Love, and he won the game.
I got a text from you that literally said I would have not done it.
I'm not Dan Campbell. I don't drink 15 espressos a day.
He stopped drinking 15 espressos a game.
What did he have now? Pure Coke?
Yes.
This man has the biggest testicles in all of Michigan and all of Detroit. And
every sports easily won't say that. I admire Dan Campbell. I'm a very aggressive guy. I was not doing what he did against the Green Bay Packers. I just think, again, it is going to come back to cost the Lions at some point, whether it's in a regular season game, which you hope, or it's in a big playoff game, or dare I say, even the Super Bowl.
Listen, Dan made mistakes last year, but that's not the topic of this video, okay? It's fair or foul. I will fight till the death for you, Dan. You know this. Okay, you ready for my next one?
Let's do it.
My next one is entering a world that we both love and we have a lot of passion for, the World Wrestling Entertainment, the WWE, the WWF, whatever some of you call it. We're gonna talk about Cody Rhodes, okay? The main event of next year's WrestleMania will be Cody Rhodes, The Rock, and Roman Reigns in a triple threat match for the title.
Okay. If we were to do this 5 days ago, I would have said the answer was fair. Sitting here right now, I think the answer is foul, though I want the answer to be fair. Because with all the reports that are coming out about CM Punk potentially wrestling Seth Rollins on the first Raw on Netflix, I think WWE is pivoting. I think we are going to get Roman Reigns versus CM Punk for the custody, if you will, of Paul Heyman at WrestleMania 41, and Cody will face the final boss one-on-one.
So we're getting another Dom Mysterio type match. What are they going to do? Put Paul Heyman in a shark cage?
By the way, I want to let everybody know that we are recording this prior to Saturday night's main event, so if there is any championship title changes and it seems totally far off or whatever have you, that's the reason for it. I don't know. They could put Paul Heyman on a ladder and someone has to touch him.
Speaking of Saturday night's main event, Jesse Ventura back where it all started. One of my favorite commentators, one of my favorite characters in wrestling history, Jesse Body Ventura, plus the Wings belt. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
Oh boy, we're back. We are back. Some of you might be playing OG Fortnite right now. That's what this feels like. This is OG wrestling, and I'm here for it. And boy, it's gonna be a fun ride Saturday. I tell you that. All right, so you're going foul on that. I really thought you would go fair on that.
I wanted to be fair, and I've said it was fair up until this week, because I think plans have changed after Survivor Series.
I'm pretty sure the Raw after the Rumble is in Cleveland, correct?
I already have my tickets.
Okay, are we on Netflix at that point?
We are.
Okay, so this is a little sidetrack, but I want to get your opinion on this. How rowdy do you think this Cleveland crowd is going to get?
I think this has the potential to be one of the best Raws of all time. If what I think will happen at the Royal Rumble may happen,
I will be there.
The final boss walking out of the Royal Rumble, the undisputed WWE champion.
Okay. But that segues perfectly into my next question. The Royal Rumble winner will be Seth freaking Rollins.
Okay. So, Jalen, I'll tell you right now, before Survivor Series, I don't know if you got a chance to hear my interview with Michael Reiner. I told you about Michael before. I think he is one of the most astute, passionate, professional wrestling fans on this planet. He thinks through booking like nobody I've ever met before in my life. I love talking long-term strategic booking with Mr. Reiner. When we talked and we previewed Survivor Series, I had thought going into the Royal Rumble, this is what was going to happen. The undisputed WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, The Rock would happen. The Rock would defeat Cody Rhodes and become the undisputed champion. I thought the OTC, the only, not the original, the only tribal chief, Mr. Solo Sikoa, the undisputed champion in my mind, Roman Reigns, would win the Royal Rumble match. Cody Rhodes would do to Roman Reigns what The Rock tried to do to Cody Rhodes last year, which was take his spot. That's how we got a triple threat match at WrestleMania 41. Now, I am not so sure. To answer your question about Rollins, I am going to stay foul on this. I don't know now what the plan for WrestleMania 41 is for Seth Rollins if it's not CM Punk. I don't think it will be in a championship match because I do believe, and again, I know Saturday night's main event, I know there's a World Championship match coming up, but I do believe that at WrestleMania 41, the ring general will still be the world champion, and he will defend that belt against the 16-time world champion, John Cena.
And that'll be John Cena's going home match?
No, it will not. John Cena will lose that match against Gunther. He will win the world championship sometime in his retirement tour in 2025, but he will lose to the ring general in the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania 41?
So I've seen a lot of questions about John Cena. Now this one has to do with Mr. You Can't See Me, Mr. Hustle Royalty Respect. If you couldn't tell on my document, I'm knees deep into the wrestling questions. I have a lot of them. So I've seen a lot about this and I don't hate it. John Cena will retire an Intercontinental Champion.
No, 100% that is foul. John
Come
Cena.
on, Brandon.
John C. Wait, are you saying that he? Wait a minute. I need to get the question right. Is he retiring with the Intercontinental Championship belt, or he just going to win the title along the way?
He's going to win the title along the way.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like he was going to retire as champion.
No.
I'm still going to say foul to that. I think that Cena will have bigger things to fry than the Intercontinental Championship. I don't think he will become a Grand Slam champion.
That one hurts. That one hurts 10-year-old me and every 10-year-old who watched John Cena for years. That one stings.
So,
all right.
So right now we're like what, 0 for 4 in terms of fairs?
0 for 4 in wrestling. I can't wait till I even touch the NBA.
Well, I guess I'm making contact with the ball and it's going out of play backwards.
You're sitting there. You're swinging like Jose Ramirez in the playoffs right now.
I guess I'm very late on my timing, apparently.
All right. This is the last wrestling question I'll go to, but this is fresh. This is new. This is about. Can we call them the New Day? Because is it?
Oh, okay.
Big E is gonna wrestle either Kofi or Woods at WrestleMania.
There's your first. He's going to wrestle both of them. It is going to be a triple threat match. Big E is going to return at the Royal Rumble. They're going to try to do the Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston classic Royal Rumble save spot. And Big E is going to throw him out of the ring. And that's how we get the triple threat between the members of the New Day, who will then reunite. I think the New Day will come back as baby faces. I feel like this new direction of Kofi and Woods. I did not think they would get Dominic Mysterio level heat on their first night as heels in nearly a decade, but kudos to them.
What do you mean? They trashed a man who broke his neck. Excuse me, who broke his neck. What do you mean they were going to give Dominic Mysterio level heat?
I just didn't know it was going to be that bad. I knew they were going to get booed. I didn't realize it was going to be to the point where I was seeing videos on the internet of fans in the crowd. You literally could not hear them when they were talking into their microphones.
You got to love professional wrestling. You got to love it. All right. Now we're going to scroll. I'm going to do a little scroll here. I'm going to scroll to my favorite sport, the NBA.
Sport I'm not too happy with right now outside of one team.
Yeah. Did you catch the Rockets game yesterday? We're recording this, but yeah, yesterday.
I did not. I was busy at the time of this recording watching the penultimate episode of Survivor season 47. By the way, if you watch that show, you get the reference. Season 47, phenomenal. Part 1 of a 2-part finale, a lot more entertaining than NBA guys shooting bricks from the 3-point line.
All right. It was a great game yesterday in H-Town. I don't want to hear it. But anyway, we're going to talk about our beloved Cleveland Cavaliers. Real hot right now. Real hot. So, this one says, come playoff time, Darius Garland will A, be an all-star this year, and B, make an impact in the playoffs.
You know what? I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I mean, what evidence do I have that says he's not going to? Jalen, I'm at the point where I'm being totally real with you. If this Cavaliers team does not make the Eastern Conference Finals, and as I have said recently to Josh or you, maybe even on Championship Rings and other Brandon's World shows, if the Cleveland Cavaliers do not make the NBA Finals this year. Barring a catastrophic injury, I know Evan Mobley had to lead the game against Miami. We'll see what his status is. Sounds like it's not going to be too bad of an injury. If the Cleveland Cavaliers are healthy, this team is bare floor Eastern Conference Finals. Their ceiling should be winning the NBA championship. That's how good they are.
I told you this, and I told you before the season even started. You called me nuts.
Well, I did not realize that just a change in offensive philosophy, I knew it was needed, but I did not think Kenny Atkinson was going to be able to unlock this. I mean, they have 8 guys that shoot, 3-point shots. If those guys make 2 each a game, they're almost unbeatable.
Listen, I told you this, and you know what you said? Jalen, you have the Cleveland Cavaliers going to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to Boston, and you know what I said? I said, damn straight I do. Because right. I believe in this team. I believed in this team as soon as we got rid of JB doesn't rest his starters, Bickerstaff.
JB Bickerstaff deserves to be in jail for what he did to my psyching of this Cleveland Cavaliers team. He made me think that Evan Mobley wasn't worth a top 3 pick in the draft.
He also made you think Karis LeVert was the worst player you've ever seen.
Karis LeVert was the worst player I've ever seen under Bickerstaff. He dribbled the ball off his foot constantly. Now all he does is catch and shoot. Kenny Atkinson knows this. Why he probably told him, don't dribble the ball. Just shoot.
Speaking of that, you know who plays basketball Friday? You know who's back in the lineup? Our boy.
By the way, that's not true. They just revealed right before our recording, Max Strus is out.
Oh, I want this rotation with Max so bad. You have no idea.
So I got a question for you. We'll do a little fair or foul for you here. I'll ask it this way. Fair or foul, when Strus does come back, he is in the starting lineup.
Oh, man. Damn. I say foul.
Okay.
I say foul just because I think the rotation you have going right now is so hot and so good together that, and Strus, we don't know
bring him off the bench as another 3-point shooter to go along with Jerome and LeVert. It's another weapon, another scoring option off the second unit.
Can you imagine him and Merrill out there together?
Yeah.
The amount of screens that would be set. Oh, it'd be so beautiful. It'd be so beautiful. Anyways.
Not to be a racist guy here, but 2 white guys on the court in an NBA game that can shoot. That's pretty good.
When's the last time that happened? Kevin Love and Kyle Korver?
Seriously.
All right. Okay, we're gonna cycle. We're gonna talk about the Western Conference now. We're gonna talk about your MVP. You picked this man to be MVP. So we're gonna talk about Shea. You picked Shea to be the MVP.
I did. He is the front runner, I believe, right now to be MVP.
You did. And we're gonna talk about his Thunder. The Thunder will have no problem getting past the rest of the West and entering an NBA Finals.
Okay, you have to define no problems. Does this mean no 7-game series?
Yes, they'll get it done in 6 or less.
Okay. I'm gonna surprise you. I'm actually gonna say fair to that.
Wow.
I think the West is down this year. I don't trust Golden State. I think that they're very Steph Curry dependent. If something were to happen to him, I don't think those young guys are going to be able to be that great in the playoffs on an entire series. Minnesota is off to a mess. That Julius Randle trade has not worked out for them. I certainly do not trust J.J. Redick and the Los Angeles Lakers or
your boy.
Durant.
Your boy.
Yeah, well, Bronny got brought into the picture, and, Bron's struggling from 3, and it's been a rough year for the Lakers. I think Houston, who I did call, by the way, before the year, you recall, I said Houston was going to be the number 3 seed in the West. And that looks like a pretty good prediction right now. I think that they're a year away. So the way I see it right now, the West may be all bottled up in the middle, but OKC's clearly the best team, and dare I say, they may get through the entire West in 5 games or less. They may pull a Boston from last year.
Are we gonna get the 2016 finals we should have got? Thunder and Cavs?
It's very plausible. I'll put it that way. Very
plausible. That's a question for me. So what are you saying?
Oh, and that's a question. Fair or foul?
Yep.
I right now am going to stick to my original finals prediction. So that would be foul. It's Celtics Thunder. But if the Cavs get the right night and the right shot and the right shooting, that can turn into fair very quickly.
We played Boston very well. Lost by 3 without LeVert didn't play.
Stupid NBA Cup, which don't even get me started on. If you have a question for me, if you want to hear an old school rant, you will hear one on the NBA Cup.
Well, I actually do have, as a joke, I put the NBA Cup is the dumbest thing the NBA has ever done ever. So that's actually here. Like I'm fair.
Outside of last year's All-Star game, that's the most fair thing I think that's ever been said on this show. I don't get it. I think it's stupid. I think the fact I told you, and I've told a lot of people this, I am so glad that 2 of the Cavs losses to Atlanta were in the NBA freaking Cup. Because I didn't want to have to deal with this crap. I didn't want to have to play these extra games. I wanted to get more days off. And now you get to play Brooklyn and you get to play Washington. It was the best thing to ever happen to the Cavs. I think the chords are stupid. I mean, outside of the Cavs chord, which objectively is the best chord in the whole NBA, the other ones, Philadelphia's, I don't even know what the hell kind of paint they threw on the court. The Celtics one looked like a tennis court. And yeah, sure, these guys get, what is it, $1 million or $500K or whatever it is.
Something like that, yeah.
Get me for the 15th man on the bench. He's making more in the NBA Cup than his entire salary. So I guess it's worth it for him, but it's the point of the NBA Cup was to help out with ratings, and it's doing the opposite.
And it's not like the 15 man on the bench is far from making that money either. Like it's not like he's far off. Like I'm pretty sure James Jones was making over $1 million when we had him on our team. It was like 1.5 or something like that.
Like, I just don't get it. It's very gimmicky. And what have I always said about gimmicks in sports, Jalen?
They don't work.
They are made, and that's why they are the best in professional wrestling only.
Exactly. Now, I know this is a little off topic again, but you brought up professional wrestling, and I know you love the floor, as should the rest of America, because the floor is the best.
One of my favorite game shows. I wrote an article on Voltage Live last year. Unfortunately, Voltage Live lost its original site. We're trying to get the articles back up. But I wrote an article that basically said that is America's next biggest game show. And I was proven to be right on that. And we know this, Jalen, because I don't know if you heard this. Do you know, obviously, the Super Bowl is going to be on Fox this year, that after the Super Bowl, season 3 of the floor is going to be in that premier spot, which is a huge get.
That's awesome. They did I was going to ask you if you saw, they did the professional wrestlers. They did.
Yes. Oh my God. That woman did not know anything. I felt so bad for her.
My God. I was like, oh man, that was bad. That was really bad. All right. You ready for my next one, sir? This one has to do with the Mets.
Oh.
And I know you're probably thinking, why the hell are we talking about the Mets? But there's one reason, one man that we're talking about the Mets. And what's his name, Brandon?
Juan Soto?
Exactly. The Mets have acquired Soto. Now, with Frankie and Soto on the roster, the Mets are going to make a push for the World Series and win it all.
This year.
Yep. Yeah, this year.
So, what's the question? Are they making the World Series?
They're winning the World Series.
in year one, you know what? I'm actually going to say foul to that. I had said on Brandon's World that I believe that if the New York Mets obviously do not win a World Series in the next 15 years, this contract will be the biggest failure in the history of baseball. And historically, when it comes to large contracts in baseball, your Joe Mauers, your Salvador Perez's, your Mike Trouts, your Bryce Harper's, your Manny Machado's, they have not worked out for their teams. The only one that really has worked out to this point has been Shohei Ohtani going to the Dodgers. And, until somebody knocks off the Dodgers, I don't think they, maybe they don't win the World Series next year, but I think they could certainly be in contention. And in baseball, it's not all about the talent. The talent certainly does help, but it is all about timely pitching, great bullpen, and being hot at the right time.
And one Cleveland Indians team seems to have that, and we got how do we say effed by the Yankees. So that made me smile seeing Juan Soto going to the Mets. That made me happy, and all you Yankees fans moaning and complaining, Juan Soto left us. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you guys can just go buy what's his name, Fry from the Braves. Just literally bought out of him from the Braves and took him.
Right, and while the Indians are losing their best defender in Jimenez, but that's just try baseball, folks. Love that. Okay.
The thing I heard is they're going more offensive, going to bring in Juan Brito at second base. We'll see how it works out. I'm sort of indifferent right now because I love Jimenez, especially defensively.
Me too. I was. You know how when I told you back in the day, probably almost 10 years ago, maybe. That's crazy that we've known each other that long, but almost 10 years ago, I told you we traded Kevin Love for Boogie Cousins, and
I lost my mind.
Yeah, that was me. That was me when we got rid of Jimenez. I'm not gonna lie. All right,
go ahead. I'm just gonna look at there.
No, go ahead. I want to hear this.
I just think in baseball, like football, I'm very offensive minded. Basketball, I'm very offensive minded. In baseball, I'm a little bit more like defensive minded, where I can live with people not hitting, above the Mendoza line. If you hit 220, but you're the best second baseman in America, and if you're Austin Hedges, the best catcher in America who never lets a ball pass you, I live with that.
I live with that too, but our bats have to wake up. That's what killed us against the Yankees. They're going on 3-4 run splurges, and we can't stop them. And then our bats.
If they had a salary 4, maybe then we could compete with them. And if Brian Rocchio didn't commit those errors, maybe we're in the World Series against the Dodgers and not those stanking Yankees.
Oh, Jesus, Rocchio really screwed us, and we fell in love with your Roque, and you just. All right. Next dumpster fire. I don't want to get into this. I'm still in pain about it. Michigan won to Ohio State. I'm not. All right, we're moving on to college football because it's playoff season, and somehow Ryan Day still has a job, which is my next question. Even if the Buckeyes somehow pull a natty out of their behinds, we fire Ryan Day.
Foul. If you win the national championship. If not, Ryan Day will be out on his behind the next day.
Vrabel. Sorry.
Vrabel will not be the new head coach of Ohio State. I don't think Vrabel is going to want to take the path that a certain 72-year-old just took and went to North Carolina. I just don't see Mike Vrabel. But then again, I didn't see Belichick as a college head coach either. What the hell do I know? College football is a mess. I don't care what anybody says. That sport is a mess. The committee made it a mess. The 12-team playoff. None of the teams in it aren't deserving. Some of them are not. And I'm not talking about SMU, by the way. The old ranking system, the bracket, it's a freaking mess, man.
It's the first year they're doing it, so take it easy there, pal.
Oh, they're doing it. They screwed up the entire system. I was the only person in America who said the 4 seed playoff would have been better than the 12 seed playoff. You guys said, oh, the 12 teams are going to have us not do a debate anymore about who the best teams in the country are. And now everybody in the country is bitching about Alabama because no matter how many teams you expand it to, you're going to be bitching about something. I've heard a rumor that they're going to expand it to 16 teams eventually in the CFP. If they do that, you're going to bitch about the number 17 team not making it in the CFP.
I did not. First of all,
I'm not saying you. I'm talking about the general public in America because
the general public. No, Brandon. I'm going to argue with this. The general public are morons when it comes to sports. Absolute morons. Those
exactly
Bama
what
fans.
I'm telling you is that these people are morons and they're going to bitch about everything.
These beer swelling redneck Bama fans.
Alabama could lose 5 games in a year and they would still say, well, we can beat SMU. Now, again, this is how I would do the CFP. If you're going to do 12 teams, I think they should only do 6. I'm going to say my piece there. But if you're going to do 12 teams, this is the way to me you have to do it. Number one, the conference thing, if you win your conference, you get a bye. Bullshit. Okay? I don't care. I'm not censoring it. Deal with it. That is bullshit. And I'll tell you why. All conferences are not equal. The Big 12, the ACC, I don't care that Belichick's there. It is not the SEC. It is not the Big 10. Let's start there. So that conference thing to me is BS. If you win your conference, it should not guarantee you a first round bye. We need to seed 1v12 regardless of conference, whether it's 8 SEC, 3 Big 10, and an ACC, however you want to do it, to see the best teams, 1 for 12. Obviously, Notre Dame is not in the conference, so we could throw them in there somewhere. And the second thing is get rid of these dumb, stupid conference championship games because they don't mean anything anymore because Oregon won the Big Ten championship, and I can make an argument. Oh, they got to buy. Oregon, in my opinion, got hosed more than Penn State.
They got screwed.
I think Penn State, who lost the Big Ten championship game, got a way better draw than the team that won it that was undefeated this year.
If I'm Oregon, I'm going to the committee and I'm requesting to be in Penn State's spot. Because listen, yeah, you could say, oh, well, Ohio State, they lost to Michigan. Okay, it was a 1-point game when we played Oregon. 1-point game, and you're telling me, so now you win the Big Ten title, win that. Coast through it, no problem. Beat the brakes off of Penn State. Sorry, Josh. You beat the brakes off of them, and then you're thrown to the monsters, and then you're thrown to the big boys of Ohio State or Tennessee. Are you kidding me?
And here's the other thing: they should reseed like the NFL does after every round, because Oregon has to play the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee, and they may still have to play Texas and Georgia just to freaking win the national championship.
Listen. Ohio State fans, we're here. We might not deserve it. We might have got punked on our own field, but we're here. And listen, I don't like Brian Day as much as the next Ohio State fan, but if I'm breaking this down in my head, this is exactly what you wanted with a loss to Michigan, right? So you play Tennessee. You should beat Tennessee. We'll see what Ryan Day, what he's on. He's on
at home. I think a lot of people, Joe Cladd included, has made this case that Ohio State should have actually wanted to be the 9th seed and have to go to Tennessee to get away from their home environment, because it's not going to be a home game for them, because Ryan Day is going to get booed out of the building.
Ryan Day is the most hated person in Ohio since LeBron Raymond James left us on live television, and you cannot change my mind.
Jalen, you know what? There's one person I could think who maybe fit that bill. Hugh Jackson, maybe.
No, because that team was bad. That team was horrible, but this team had the potential to steamroll Michigan, and we still lost.
Yeah, no, you're right. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this: if you don't have another general college football question about NIL or the transfer portal, I want to go on because I want to make one more point about it.
Go ahead. You can make it.
Okay, so I believe that, and I've said this for years, I was not originally in favor of the NIL. I did not think college athletes should get paid. I thought you were there to go to class. Just like in high school, sports was sort of an extra thing, even if you were working to go there for a professional reason eventually. I thought school should have been the number one thing on all processes of college football. But I get it. The world changes. High school kids are making money. People are making money off crypto now, and Twitch and YouTube. I get it. But I do think that the NIL and the transfer portal have basically become a 365-day year thing in college football, where I actually think coaching in college is harder now than it is to coach in the National Football League. And college football does not have a governing body. We have all these commissioners of the conferences. There is not one overarching commissioner. Say what you want about Rob Manfred or Adam Silver or Gary Bettman or Goodell. They are at least commissioners of their sport and oversee things. College football has no rules.
I couldn't agree with you more, B. I couldn't agree with you more. With that being said, we're off of college football because I was going to ask you about the certain 72-year-old man.
Please ask me.
You want this question?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man. Well, one of my first questions is he's going to fall in love with one of the 19-year-old cheerleaders, but we're not going to ask that on this show because, Bill Belichick loves his 24-year-olds, probably 24 and lower, if you ask me. But
just listening on audio, folks, I am shaking my head just in disbelief that this is actually happening. Not only the fact that Bill is dating a 23-year-old. Oh my God. Bill Belichick is head coach of North Carolina. I'm still. Today's date is December 12th, 2024. For anyone wondering, I'm still in disbelief.
Okay, we're gonna go here. Bill Belichick will win a national championship in however long he stays with Carolina.
Well, Jalen, I think that we gotta get ready for North Carolina State, and
yes, he broke Belichick out.
And they do a great job on special teams. He's a great player. And hell no, he is not winning a national championship at North Carolina. He is not staying more than 1 year at North Carolina. He's going to be there for a year. He's going to burn his 400-page binder or whatever the hell this crap's about. He's giving this job to his son in a year, and he's going to go probably be the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's my prediction. You heard it here first.
Oh, Brandon, hearing you bash Bill Belichick is so beautiful to hear, considering how much you used to love Belichick.
Yeah, ever since Tom Brady left, the team has gone significantly worse. But at least we're better than the Jets, and we're on to Cincinnati.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh no! Oh, what the? This is a cluster of just. Oh man! Okay. All right. Enough of Bill Belichick and his 19-year-old, 20-year-old women, because That's weird enough.
Are you
We're
sure? I don't know. She's pretty hot to me. I mean,
we're gonna talk about your Philadelphia Eagles for a second.
oh god,
Listen, Saquon Barkley. This is about Saquon looking like he did at Penn State. Shout out to Josh. Second shout out this episode. Although I'm not bashing your team this time because Ohio State owns you. Anyway,
cannot believe the impact that he's had. Way more than I thought he would.
Anyway, Saquon Barkley. Although he won't, he should win MVP.
I'm gonna surprise you. My answer is foul.
Wow.
Saquon's been great. I think there are clear two MVPs in the NFL. One of them is the guy who, at the time of this recording, is playing the Detroit Lions this weekend, your Lions, who I thought leaked ahead of everybody in the MVP race with that incredible performance. Obviously, the 6 touchdowns in that loss against the Rams. But, Jalen, I'm going to tell you something. I know he's got Derrick Henry. I know he's won it back-to-back years. I know there's voter fatigue. But do you realize that this man, Lamar Jackson, the guy who wears number 8 in Baltimore, he has 3 interceptions this year. And all of them are on tipped passes where the ball hit his receiver in the hands. Meaning this man should have 0 interceptions on his resume. And we know what the Baltimore Ravens are without him. I think the Eagles could win games without Saquon Barkley. I don't know if Buffalo or Baltimore could win a single game without their starting quarterback, which is why, for me, those two are my favorite to win MVP. And by the way, if the Bengals had any sort of defense, I think Joe Burrow would be the front runner.
Oh, poor Shiesty. Poor Joe Shiesty. Oh, man. What a guy. I love Joe. Listen, he's in our division. He's probably going to kick our ass for the next week. When
the division you're in, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and all of a sudden Russell Wilson's turned back the clock back into Seattle Ruffs.
Yeah, Jameis Winston is back to prime Jameis Winston. 480 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions.
And a certain player at a certain position wearing a certain number on a certain football team is out on vacation.
Yeah, that pissed me off. But we don't need to talk about that, Brendan. It's okay. It's okay. I can't say that on air.
See, if you're seeing me on video right now, you may know what I'm doing. On audio, you're going to have no idea as I am motioning a certain gesture that I think Deshaun Watson would love.
Getting a little
getting in that little deep tissue there.
You get a little loosening you up, huh? Oh, I don't want to talk about the Browns till next year. Okay, that's if you're gonna have me on to talk Super Bowl, that's fine. But please do not make me talk about the Browns until next year.
This is your run, and we got 15 minutes left. Go ahead, fair or foul.
All right, we're gonna talk about we might. I'll ask one more Browns question because I put it in here, and I love this man. We're gonna talk about Nick Chubb. Oh,
you mean the guy that Ken Dorsey refuses to use?
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Chubb will leave the Browns this year. Request a trade, 1 out, no question. Let me know, Brent.
That's the hardest question you've asked. And I'll tell you why. There's a lot of factors in that. A, who is the coach? B, who is the general manager? C, whoever is picking players, do they feel like Nick Chubb is washed, or do they feel like it's the offensive line? Because I feel like it's the latter. That Nick Chubb will not be a Brown at the end of this year. You know what? I think it's foul. I'll appease all you Brown fans out there. I think Nick Chubb comes back. I think he deserves a full offseason to get right. Maybe a brand new offensive line coach, potentially a new head coach, potentially a new general manager. But I do think, and I said this a few years ago, Jalen, you remember 2 years ago when I was sitting at this desk telling people the Browns should trade Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah, I do, and I gave you a mouthful for it or a earful, and you know that.
And the funny thing is, now all you guys want to trade Nick Chubb, and I'm the one saying I don't know if you do it yet.
I don't want to trade him. Listen, I don't. I want to do a lot of things to this Browns team, but one of them, I want Batman to stay in Cleveland, and I want Stefanski as far out of Cleveland as possible. That's just me. You can hear the pain in my voice, Brandon. You know what this team does to me on a weekly basis. You know what it's like to be a Browns fan.
Move on to something happier ish.
All right, you want to move on to something happier? We'll move on to something happier because I know you'll be happy to hear this, and I want you to know that this one hurts me too. But I know you'll be happy. AEW will close its doors by 2026. I'll give them another year, but they're going to close their doors get bought out. I'll say WCW.
You're going to be surprised by this answer, knowing me. I'm going to say foul. I think they're going to be the next TNA. I think they're just going to stick around. Tony Khan's got money. My guy, JK Adam Copeland, I said it at the time, and I will stay true to this. He did a Michael Jordan to the Wizards. And basically is going to AEW, and people are going to forget about it in a couple years, and he may have his retirement match in AEW because that's what AEW is pretty much known for now. It's retirement home community. I think eventually TNA may surpass them by 2026, the second most popular promotion in wrestling again. If that was the question, it would be fair. But no, they have too much money. They do have a media deal. They're not going to completely close its doors.
Listen, the fact that TNA is doing better than with as much buzz as AEW had at the start, the fact that TNA is squashing them is diabolical. Dixie Carter, you are the most diabolical woman in wrestling outside of Stephanie McMahon. And I swear to God, I love you, Dixie Carter. I will forever love you. You gave me some of the best years of wrestling of my life. But
it's ironic. It actually is the definition of irony that Tony Khan started up AEW and Cody Rhodes and Jericho and the Young Bucks because everybody in the wrestling universe could not stand Mr. McMahon's booking. And we're not going to talk about who and his lawsuits, but it's ironic that Tony Khan has now turned into booking the way Vince McMahon booked.
Yeah, he's killing his own company. It's fine. It's fine, Tony. You take your millions and you break the heart of every Spot Fest fan, as you like to call us. You break our hearts, Tony. You go ahead, pal. You go right ahead, Tony.
But AEW is where the best wrestle because there would be no AEW if it wasn't for Ricochet. Yeah, okay.
That one hurt me, Brandon. Why did you have to say that? Oh man. Oh gosh. Okay. I have a couple more. How many more are we allowed to do? Because I got some.
Depending on how fast we go, maybe 3 to 5 more.
I have a question that it's sports related, but it's not about a sports team. And I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
It's about a sports show. Pat McAfee and the boys have the best show on sports television right now.
Oh, you know what? You're not going to like the answer. I'm going to say how objectively, I think it's in the top 3.
Wait.
I think number one.
Can I guess who you're giving one to?
Go ahead.
Is it the Herd?
No, but Herd is number 2.
Wow. Okay, I have no idea then.
Number one is, to me, without a doubt, they have the best chemistry. They have a phenomenal show. They have the best segments, literally in all sports, and they literally promote it as the best segments in all sports. First things first.
First, yeah. I do we count Stephen A. and Ocho the Nightcast? Can we?
You mean
Can we?
Shannon and Ocho? Yeah, it's a sports
Yeah.
show. I listen to it occasionally. I don't listen to it all the time, but when I do, it's good. I think they oftentimes talk too much over each other. And I do think Shannon Sharp, as much as I love him, and you know how much I love him, I do think he's getting back into that Skip Bayless territory of I'm a former athlete and I know more football than you do. That's always annoyed me about athletes. It's why I don't watch the facility because I think Emmanuel Acho does the same thing, and I don't like him at all. Um,
Yeah, no.
I do think a very underrated show, and I did not think this was going to be a good show at the start, but it's really turned into something. Is Breakfast Ball with uh, Craig Carton, obviously Danny Perkins, and then Mark Schwartz.
I haven't seen a lot of it. Is it good?
It's very good. It's my go-to morning show. Danny Parkins. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Not Danny Perkins. Danny Parkins, Craig Carton, and Mark Schwartz. I do find it funny that they basically took the Carton show and booted Carton to the curb and let him stick around, but he's not the host anymore. Um, that was kind of funny, but yeah, it's a good show.
All right.
All
Now,
right. We're probably gonna have time for three more. I'll let you ask like your top three. I kind of want a non-sports one if you have one.
okay, a non-sports one. Let me scroll here. I got a couple movie ones here. If you're down to answer those,
Okay,
I,
I'm not a sports movie or a movie in general guy, so we'll see if I can answer.
I got I got some I got some I got some music ones here.
Okay,
That that'll be interesting because I know you're a fan of country music, but I don't know what style of country music is.
very
What
new. I'm not a very old school guy. I'll tell you that.
he is not a very old school guy, folks. This man is in the now. This man is the best on the internet doing it. He's in the now with Brandon Lewis. But
Well, I'm not very old school. We just got to get ready for the Jets today.
damn it, Brandon, I'm trying to lock in. I'm trying to focus. All right, I'm gonna ask you about. I'm gonna ask you about the Swifties here. I'm gonna ask you about
Oh
that.
yes, okay, yes. I've been waiting for this question.
You're Brandon Lewis is a Swiftie?
Yeah, 100%, baby. We're
Oh
all
boy.
in.
Oh man. So
In
I can
your
say,
wildest dreams.
oh man. You
Cause
bring me back to
baby,
some
it's a love story. Baby,
oh,
just say yes.
my karaoke song. For all you men out there who say, oh, whoa, you listen to Taylor Swift? No, I don't listen to new Taylor Swift. I listen to old Taylor Swift. But if you refuse to listen to female artists, you I can't even say what I want to say, but
All right,
you
well,
but we're
Jalen,
gonna talk about the Swift.
before you get us in trouble, let's talk about the Swifties.
Let's talk about the Swifties. All right. Taylor Swift, by the time she's done recording music, I don't know why I thought of this. I just put this on here, but probably because I saw TikTok or something. Anyway, Taylor Swift, by the time she is done with music, will be the biggest artist of all time.
Ooh, of all time. You know what? You know what? You got my wheels spinning. Uh, fair.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely agree with you.
I think
Absolutely.
her I think her popularity is bigger than Michael Jackson. I think it's bigger than Prince. I've never seen a musical movement. I think it's bigger than the Beatles. Have you ever seen
Wow.
have you ever in your life seen a fan base literally be defined by girls who never watched a single play of football in their life run to the TV because Taylor Swift is in a press box because her boyfriend is playing in a game where they tackle people, and that's all they know about the game.
No offense to women out there. We know there are women that know ball. There's definitely Molly, for example, on ESPN.
There's a lot of women out there that know football. I'm talking about most of the Taylor Swift fan base, and we know because we've seen the numbers and what they've done for Chiefs games.
They're making custom Swift Chiefs jerseys, and they don't even know who the head coach is. They don't even know what a check down is, Brandon. Do you understand that?
That's what I'm saying. All right, here's the deal, Jalen. We got time for one more fair or foul question.
All right, so now can I go back to sports, or do you want me to reach
I
in my
want
bag?
you to throw your best question on the board. It's sports or non-sports.
Oh man, my best question. Let's see. Ooh. This might get your wheels turning. I don't know if it's my best question, but it might get your wheels turning. LeBron Raymond James, your boy from Akron, Ohio, born on whatever time. I know you know this by heart, but
30,
there you go. There you go. He will shock the world and retire at the end of this season.
Hey, Jalen, you read my mind. I've been saying this since the day Bronny got drafted. This isn't even a question for me. I don't think Bryce is retired. I don't think he's going to make it for Bryce. I don't even know if Bryce wants to be in the NBA with his father. I think LeBron has been stacking up stats the past few years playing for a bad Lakers team because I think he realizes the only way in young people's minds, not yours, but in some people's minds, for him to chase Michael Jordan is not going to be by championships. It's going to be by longevity. And I think LeBron has nothing left to prove. I think he wanted to wait till Bronny got drafted, play 1 year with his son. I don't think LeBron is going to want a media tour or a retirement tour the way Kobe Bryant did. I think he's just going to shock the world, do what Michael Jordan did, and hang up the boots.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And guys, if that's my last question, I want to throw this out here about LeBron. You guys have heard me bash LeBron, especially you, Brandon. But when number 23 puts down the ball, leaves those sneakers at center court, a part of me is going to leave. Probably a good part of my body, the most hate in my body, but who am I going to root against now?
Well, I will tell you this, and to your point, when LeBron does leave the NBA, I know we have a lot of young stars, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, SGA, Jokic. We have young stars. I don't know if we have that guy that gets us to a TV set. It's Wemby, but I don't know if America knows about Wemby much yet. I think the NBA ratings will go on a massive decline, even more than they already are, if this is LeBron's last year.
Brandon, I might shed a tear when LeBron retires. I'm not. I am LeBron James' biggest hater. I don't get. My first memory before we go off the air. Allow me to say this, please. My first memory of basketball is when he absolutely destroyed Jason Terry. Put him on an absolute poster. I had that poster. I had it in my room for a school project because I didn't hate him yet. I didn't fully hate him yet. He betrayed me, and I didn't want to see that he win, but damn, was that 2012 Brown really good. But when he goes, it's going to be a sad day in the NBA. And you know that.
I agree with that, Jalen. And you know what? That's all the time we have for fair or foul because Jalen, thank you for joining me. But just like last year, coming up next on the Brand's World Christmas Special, I've already done my top 10 sports stories of the year of 2024. You've heard Jalen Sandvik. We played fair or foul, but we got to do the WWE Slammy Awards for
Let's go.
2024.
Let's go. You gave me the following the Slammy segment. I'm before it. Let's go. Let's go.
Can you think of a better year in WWE than 2024? I'm talking about the fact that the front of us, because at that, he has returned. I'm talking about the fact that Cody Rhodes finished his story. I'm talking about the return of the tribal chief into the OTC Roman Reigns in my backyard at SummerSlam. I'm talking about Jey Uso. I'm talking about Liv Morgan kissing Dominic Mysterio. The Judgment Day is now on their third iteration. And how about Survivor Series? War Games! How about the greatest crowd ever potentially in Backlash in France? WWE goes to the Bash in Berlin. How about the Ring General Gunther, the Queen of the Ring Nia Jax, both winning world championships? Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan feud. How about Drew McIntyre, CM Punk inside Hell in a Cell? We're going to talk about all of it as it is time for the WWE Slammy Awards for 2024. We have several categories to get to today, including Male Superstar of the Year, Female Superstar of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year, Return of the Year, Match of the Year, Feud of the Year, the OMG Moment of the Year, the PLE of the Year, the Double Cross of the Year, and the Best NXT Call Up of the Year. Here we go. Kicking it off with Male Superstar of the Year. We have what, in my opinion, decided this was the Magic Crown Jewel for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship between the American Nightmare and the Ring General. The winner of the match, the American Nightmare, the current undisputed WWE champion at the time of this recording, because this is before Saturday night's main event takes place December 14th, 2024. The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. My runner ups, the Ring General, Gunther, the Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre, El Champion, Damian Priest, and the Yeet Man himself. What can we say about Cody Rhodes? The journey he went on, winning the 2024 Royal Rumble, then getting replaced by The Rock, then the people chanting, "We want Cody to finish his story." And then Cody Rhodes finishes his story. Then he goes on to have incredible matches with AJ Styles in France and at Cardiff. Clash of the Castle. He goes on to take on Logan Paul in Saudi Arabia, King and Queen of the Ring. Then he goes into this Bloodline feud, and now obviously the Kevin Owens feud here, culminating at Saturday night's main event. Cody Rhodes finishing his story, winning the Crown Jewel Championship, becoming the new face, essentially, of WWE. Nobody, in my opinion, had a better year than Cody. Gunther, if he would have won the Crown Jewel Championship, definitely would have had a shot. Started the year as the Intercontinental Champion, losing that championship to Sami Zayn, but then he goes on to win the World Heavyweight Championship after winning the King of the Ring, and an incredible match with Randy Orton at that event, defeats Damian Priest to win the world title, had another great match with Orton at Bash in Berlin. The incredible match with CM Punk. I thought that he had a very good match with Damian Priest as well at Survivor Series. Gunther's accolades speak for himself this year. How about Drew McIntyre, the man who was obsessed with CM Punk? And those two superstars carried a feud from the Royal Rumble to SummerSlam without ever having a one-on-one match in between there. Drew McIntyre winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 40 from Seth Rollins. Only his obsession with CM Punk allowed El Champion to cash in and win the world championship. And they had an incredible match at Clash of the Castle, again leading to Drew and Punk's classic trilogy, and Drew McIntyre even returning on the Raw after Survivor Series to take out Sami Zayn to kick us into this storyline where we are at now here as we enter 2025. Drew McIntyre was one of the realest superstars, was always on TV for the most part, had a really great year in 2024. Damian Priest, really, you can make an argument as a breakout star of the year, though I thought as a tag teamer, he was always breaking out with the Judgment Day. He was already on TV. Essentially, that world championship run made Damian Priest a legitimate babyface when Finn Balor turned on him at SummerSlam. Damian Priest was already turning face in that match going into it against Gunther. Had a great match, as I already mentioned, with McIntyre. How about his match with Seth Rollins and Money in the Bank as well, when Drew, who I forgot to mention this, did win Money in the Bank and obviously tried to cash in there. Damian Priest became a legitimate star this year. And what can I say about the most over entrance in WWE? Yeet. Let's go to the female superstar of the year. Was not a ton of candidates. I think the two are pretty obvious. You have Mummy, Rhea Ripley. It's Tiffy time and Tiffany Stratton. The WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax. But my winner, I think, in my opinion, undoubtedly this year, the woman who messed up the Judgment Day, took out Rhea Ripley's shoulder, kissed Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, who returned after a serious injury at the Royal Rumble, and Liv Morgan became the biggest star, in my opinion, next to Rhea Ripley in the women's division this year. But nobody has grown more in the women's division this year than the current women's world champion. She was kind of floundering there going into WrestleMania 40, but the night after WrestleMania 40, as I already mentioned, the attack on Rhea Ripley, which led to a real injury for Ripley, which led to Liv Morgan winning the Women's World Championship at the King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view, defeating Becky Lynch thanks to some inadvertent interference from Dominic Mysterio. 48 hours later on Raw, her and Becky Lynch have a steel cage match where Dominic Mysterio closes the door on Liv Morgan, or excuse me, on Becky Lynch, allows Liv Morgan to crawl out the door, and then at the end of the show, when the cameras were actually off, Liv Morgan kissing Dominic Mysterio to kickstart this rivalry. When Rhea Ripley comes back, they have their match at SummerSlam. We all think Dom is in the corner of Mommy, and Dom turns on Mommy, and Liv Morgan becomes this evil little conniving Alexa Bliss light. I've heard some people say, though I don't really agree with it, girl that will do whatever she can to protect her women's world championship. Now she's got Raquel Rodriguez by her side, and not to mention, she does also have the women's crown jewel championship. Tiffany Stratton won the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. She is becoming a babyface right before our eyes, and she may be the breakout star of at least maybe this year, if not next year, when she does become the WWE Women's Champion, in my opinion. And how about the year that Nia Jax had? Queen of the Ring, WWE Women's Champion, dominated ever since she went to the Blue Brand in the draft in May. Breakout Star of the Year. Your candidates are Bro Breaker, Chelsea Green. I already alluded to it. Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and Solo Sikoa as I'm doing my best Samantha Irvin impression. Samantha Irvin, you were the greatest WWE ring announcer of all time. We miss you very much. But my winner for Breakout Star of the Year, Big Bronson Reed. Let me explain to you how I came to this decision to go with Bronson Reed over Braun Breaker because it was really close for Breakout Star of the Year. What it came down to for me is the definition of breakout star. Because before this year, Braun Breaker had spent little time on the main roster. Obviously, in 2022, he came through a little bit there with the NXT gimmick, but now this is obviously a different Braun Breaker. Before the draft, actually, Braun Breaker was teaming up with Baron Corbin, who is sadly, in my opinion, no longer with WWE in NXT. Chelsea Green was absolutely phenomenal this year. Her character work has really broken her out to the point where fans wanted her to win Money in the Bank. At the time of this recording, Saturday night's main event again has not gone down yet. I really want her to win the first ever United States Championship for the woman. She absolutely deserves it. She's an absolute charm and one of the best hires, in my opinion, of the entire Paul Levesque Triple H era. Stratton, we already talked about her breakout year, her becoming a babyface right before our very eyes. Jade Cargill entered WWE and has been a complete attraction, in my opinion. She has been booked so well, so dominantly. We still don't know at the time of this recording who her attacker is. She's been in that tag team with Bianca Belair all year long. It may lead to Belair being revealed as the attacker. That's how we get Bianca and Belair at WrestleMania. That would be a very interesting storyline, in my opinion, for Jade to then probably win Breakout Star next year if she does win a world championship. And then obviously, what Solo has done, raising his character work by facing Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam for the Undisputed Championship, being the new tribal chief, dominating SmackDown even more so than Roman Reigns this year, pitting Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Solo, his character work has obviously gone through the roof this year. But could you think of a bigger impact? Was it Braun Breaker's been great? He's had incredible matches with the likes of Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Ludwig Kaiser, Sheamus. He's been a multiple time Intercontinental Champion this year. But Breaker started the year on NXT. A breakout star to me is somebody who's been on the main roster for a while, who just comes on and wrecks havoc. And could you think of a bigger way for a superstar who was sort of floundering? He reportedly was going to get a world championship match at Elimination Chamber. Did not happen due to the injury of Seth Rollins and also due to Bronson Reed's wife giving birth. Um, could you think of a better situation for Bronson Reed, who was again doing little stuff on television until the Raw after SummerSlam, where he just took it into his own account, pro Raw General Manager Adam Pearce came out to the ring, delivered 6 tsunamis to Seth Rollins. That was followed up the next week by 6 tsunamis to R-Truth, which was then in that incredible storyline with Braun Strowman, where he even tsunami Braun Strowman for a car at some point. There was two big guys just destroying whatever they could. That led to the big monster, the last monster standing match where they broke the freaking ring, and then Seth Rollins came down to order that curb stomp, and that's where we got this rivalry going right now between Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed, which culminated in Bronson Reed breaking his foot from doing a tsunami off the top of a War Games cage at Survivor Series. This dude's gone from a big man with great agility who could potentially be a future Intercontinental Champion to, I believe, could be a future dominant world champion and a main fixture on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown programming moving forward. That's the definition of breakout star of the year, the way LA Knight, yeah, was a year ago. Bronson Reed's rise to me is better because he was on the main roster already compared to Braun Breaker, who started the year in NXT. Return of the year. Surprisingly, when you think about it, there was not a ton of returns this year. There were two major ones. Of course, The Rock setting up everything that had to do with WrestleMania 40 with his return on Monday Night Raw Day 1, interrupting former WWE superstar Jinder Mahal in one of his last appearances in WWE. WWE had promoted a former world champion to show up to the show. Jinder Mahal trolled the crowd, but the crowd did not love it. And obviously, Dwayne The Rock Johnson came down, taunted the hell out of Jinder Mahal, and then asked if he should sit at the head of the table. And that's what led to the entire Rock coming down, taking Cody Rhodes' spot, The Rock transforming back into the final boss. But it does not happen if that surprise return at Monday Night Raw Day 1 does not take place. But the number one winner for Return of the Year, I think without a doubt, even though it was anticipated, the moment being there in person, hearing the crowd erupt was something I will never forget. At SummerSlam, the return of the OTC, the undisputed world champion Roman Reigns. And he was not going after the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. No, 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 no. He was going after Solo Sikoa. And that's what led to the birth of the OTC. And by the way, the WWE Universe right now, whether you're on Raw, whether you're on SmackDown, it still revolves around the OTC. That to me was by far the biggest return of the year. Up next, we have the match of the year. And I think obviously we all know what that match of the year is going to be. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Bloodline Rules, Night 2, WrestleMania 40, The Avengers, Jey Uso, John Cena, The freaking Undertaker, Seth Rollins with his Shield gear on, stopping Jimmy Uso, stopping Solo Sikoa, Cody Rhodes, the Free Crossroads. Cody finished his story. Cinema. You cannot top a match better than that. That was a match that both fans of Roman Reigns and fans of the American Nightmare were sitting there on pins and needles. We did not know who was going to win this match. This was the most nervous I've been watching a WrestleMania match. Hell, this is the most nervous I've ever been watching a wrestling match in decades. There is not another match of the year, in my opinion. And there were so many good matches this year. Let me just run through a few of them I have on my list in no particular order. As I already mentioned, King of the Ring, Gunther, Randy Orton. How about Bad Blood, Hell in a Cell, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, an instant 5-star classic. How about that I Quit match at Clash of the Castle, Cody Rhodes, and the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. How about night 1 of WrestleMania 40 main event? The match that led us to Cody Roman Night 2 being Bloodline Rules. The Rock making his in-ring return to WWE for the first time since WrestleMania 29. Rock, Roman, Rollins, Cody. That tag team match. And then the most recent match of the year that we just saw, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, the OTC against Brunson Reed and Solo Sikoa's Bloodline, a match that saw Tagaloa, Brunson Reed, and Jimmy Uso suffer significant indefinite injuries. A match that saw CM Punk saving Roman Reigns at the request of Paul Heyman. CM Punk, Roman Reigns being on the same team and for one night taking out the new Bloodline, and Roman Reigns finally getting his revenge on Solo Sikoa. But folks, that sequence at the end of the Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40, John Cena and The Rock standing face to face, The Undertaker delivering the chokeslam, Jey Uso spearing Jimmy Uso off the stage. Oh my God. The Shield music coming out, Cody Rhodes saying, or excuse me, Corey Graves saying, guys, guys, like Dean Ambrose was going to come out. Michael Cole nearly in damn tears. You can't top a match more than Cody and Roman. Feud of the year. Now, this one I think is pretty obvious. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Not only did these three guys have three classic matches, the SummerSlam match, which involved Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. Then, at the Bash in Berlin, the strap match. And with Drew McIntyre winning at SummerSlam, with CM Punk winning at Bash in Berlin, I already alluded to it. It was one of my matches of the year. The 5-star classic at Bad Blood. They basically used a bracelet to tell a story over 8 months, with Drew McIntyre decimating CM Punk in his hometown of Chicago, and that followed after CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship on 3 occasions. First, obviously, sweeping his leg and allowing Damian Priest to cash in on him at WrestleMania 40 when McIntyre was already champion. In Drew McIntyre's hometown at Clash of the Castle, CM Punk screwed him out of the World Championship and then screwed him out of cashing in the Money in the Bank, making it a triple threat match between Drew, Damian, and Rollins at Money in the Bank. Drew McIntyre did not walk away world champion from any of them. And again, a few that used a bracelet and no physical match from when Drew McIntyre injured CM Punk at the Royal Rumble to SummerSlam. Incredible. Runner up, I think, is obviously Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Again, that feud's been going on for years, starting in 2023, but really kicked up in 2024. And after Liv Morgan took out Rhea Ripley in her shoulder, it's led to the entire iteration where we're at now of Liv Morgan being the women's world champion, stealing Dom away from Mommy, and also the Judgment Day. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable was an underrated feud for the Intercontinental Championship, which of course led to the Chad Gable heel turn after Chad Gable helped coach Sami Zayn to do the one thing that Chad Gable could not do, and that was defeat the Ring General. At any point, Sami Zayn does it at WrestleMania 40. As I mentioned, Sami Zayn then gives Chad Gable a title match. Gable does not get the job done. Gable turns heel, which of course then only leads to Otis turning on Gable, which then leads to what we have right now with American Made, Chad Gable, Brutus, and Julius Creed, not Ivy Nile as a group. Okay, you can't do feud of the year without obviously including Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. That may be feud of the decade. That may have ultimated, may have not this year. We still don't know what the direction for WrestleMania 41 is going to be. And then I already mentioned it when I talked about Bronson Reed. Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed was an incredible feud. Just trying to outdo each other every week by destroying things in the parking lot, the tsunami off the top of a car, running through walls, and them getting up. And of course, the incredible, as I mentioned, last monster standing match, which involved the ring being broken. PLE of the year. This was not close. And I was at SummerSlam, and to me, it's the runner up. But WrestleMania 40, between night one, night two, all the moments. Obviously, Cody Rhodes finishing his story. The Rock and Roman Reigns winning the main event of night one. Damian Priest cashing in and becoming the new world champion after Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins had an absolute incredible clash. Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, an incredible bout for the Women's World Championship. You had Bayley finally getting rid of damage control and having her moment by winning a singles championship at WrestleMania. I already mentioned what Sami Zayn did, knocking off Gunther. We had a great triple threat match between Logan Paul, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton for the United States Championship. A very personal feud between LA Knight and AJ Styles. And obviously, a lot more, including the World Tag Team Championships and WWE Tag Team Championships being born off of obviously this ladder match. We had three teams from Raw, three teams from SmackDown. Finn Balor and Damian Priest losing the tag team titles to Down Under on the blue brand, Awesome Truth on the red brand. And I think, Backlash, I already mentioned it. Yes, it was a five-match card. The main event was AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. We had Randy Orton and Kevin Owens taking on Solo Sikoa and Tommy Tonga as the new Bloodline made their debut in that street fight. We had Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill taking the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships on that show from Damage Control. We had a great triple threat match as well, with Bayley, Naomi, Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. That crowd was just red hot throughout the entire show. And then Money in the Bank. Needless to say, the two women's Money in the Bank matches, Tiffany Stratton, and then obviously Drew McIntyre winning them was incredible. We had the six-man main event where Solo Sikoa, Tommy Tonga, and Jacob Fatu took out Randy Orton, as well as Cody Rhodes, and as well as Kevin Owens. But of course, this show also kicked off the John Cena retirement tour, where John Cena announced that he was going to be retiring at the end of 2025. Now, the OMG moment of the year. I talked about this multiple times, so it should be no surprise to any of you. But Dominic Mysterio kissing Liv Morgan on Monday Night Raw was an absolute unexpected shock. And because of the storyline that bounced off of it, to me, that was the kiss heard around the world. Now, the only other one that I think could even live up to potentially the OMG moment of the year was when The Rock stole Cody Rhodes' moment. But the one thing about that is we all kind of knew with The Rock coming back, saying that he was the head of the table. The Rock and Roman Reigns were going to fight at some point. Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble and then pointed right at Roman Reigns. So we didn't know, if The Rock was going to be involved yet at WrestleMania 40 or not, or if, plans changed and Cody was going to go fight Roman Reigns again. Obviously, The Rock stealing Cody's WrestleMania moment is what led us to the most incredible WrestleMania 40 main event in the history of WrestleMania. But again, I think nationwide, that Dominic Mysterio kiss to Liv Morgan on Raw was the kiss that the whole world heard of. Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed bring the ring. I already mentioned it. The Usos and the Bloodline do reunite. A thought that we may never thought to see. Face OTC Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman returning, CM Punk being the fifth man of the War Games cage. How about Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest at SummerSlam? It was kind of a thought I had going into the match once with Morgan and Dominic Mysterio officially turned on Rhea Ripley to begin that evening. But it was still a holy bleep moment being in that arena. Kevin Owens attacking Cody Rhodes backstage in the parking lot after Bad Blood, which is why we have this Saturday night's main event. How about the Wyatt's debut? Remember that? The Wyatt 6 debut, where it was at the end of the show. We went backstage to Gorilla, and everybody was essentially dead. As now Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross, Dexter Loomis, and the rest of the Wyatt family crew tried to heal those that have turned on other people. The Miz, Gable, and everything involved there with the Wyatt family. The Wyatt Six has been an incredible revolution to WWE programming on Monday Night Raw. Double Cross of the Year, aka Heel Turn of the Year. How about The Rock? The slap that was heard across the world. I mentioned the kiss that was heard across the world with Dominic Mysterio kissing Liv Morgan. The slap heard around the world with the final boss doing so to Cody Rhodes at the WrestleMania 40 press conference in Las Vegas to officially kick off the heel turn of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. My runner up was obviously, as I just mentioned, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio in the Judgment Day. Ludwig Kaiser turning on Giovanni Vinci, who has essentially been an afterthought after debuting with that new gimmick for a few weeks. And my other one is the babyface turn of Roman Reigns turning on Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam. I thought we all expected it. So, it wasn't the biggest turn of the year, but that was one of them. If Tiffany Stratton would have turned on Nia Jax, it would have been right up there as well. That has not happened yet at the time of this recording. But again, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns seem to be involved in almost every big moment of WWE in 2024. And then to wrap it up, the best NXT call up, I think by far, is Braun Breaker. I've already listed off to you his accolades, multiple time Intercontinental Champion, and in my opinion, with his recent run and him barking woo, 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 and getting the fans over, Braun Breaker looks like heel babyface. It doesn't matter. He is going to be one of the faces of WWE moving forward. And again, he did start the year in NXT, which why to me he's not necessarily the breakout star of the year, but he is the best NXT call-up. Ilya Dragunov. It sucks that he got hurt. He was a stapler of that mid card division on Monday Night Raw when he got called up in the draft. And then Lyra Valkyria, in my opinion, in the women's division, has been the best woman call up by far on the Red brand. She's been a little bit lackluster as of late, but she's in the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament, and she did make the finals of the Women's Queen of the Ring tournament. So to recap here, for everything that we talked about today, my 2024 WWE Slammy Awards, my male superstar of the year was Cody Rhodes. My female superstar of the year was Liv Morgan. My breakout star of the year, Bronson Reed. My return of the year was Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. My match of the year was the Bloodline Rules, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Night 2 main event of WrestleMania 40. My feud of the year was CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. My PLE of the year was WrestleMania 40. My OMG moment of the year was Dominic Mysterio kissing Liv Morgan for the first time on Monday Night Raw. My double cross of the year was The Rock turning heel at the WrestleMania 40 press conference in Las Vegas. And the best NXT call up of the year, I have being Roo 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 Breaker. Welcome back to the Brandon's World Merry Christmas special, and here with me now for the first time in nearly 3 years on the Brandon's World podcast. I can't believe it's been that long. He is my best friend in the whole world. We have been to many events together this year, including one that we will both never forget, SummerSlam weekend in Cleveland, Ohio. Andrew Baca. Andrew, welcome back to the podcast, man.
It's been a while. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I think the last time I had you on was maybe when we did the mental health special. I think that was December 2021, which was really the premise of what has now turned into the biggest show of the year, the Brand's World Christmas special.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't really remember too much of that because it was what the height of COVID and everybody was drunk or high. So I think it's safe to say that I'll remember most of this one.
So we are here today because I wanted to have you on the show because I think we have agreed and disagreed on a lot this year in the sports world and beyond. But this really is a show where we take a look back obviously at the year in sports. I did my 2024 kind of top 10 moments in sports. I've done, a separate category with the WWE Slammy Awards. After the segment here that airs with you, I'm going to be doing my predictions for the 2025 and what's going to happen in sports. But I just think, between everything going on in the world and then everything that we have talked about, obviously now Belichick becoming the head coach of North Carolina, that story kind of came out of nowhere. Um, Obviously everything that went on with the election and sort of Caitlin Clark revolutionizing the sports industry, especially with women's sports. And then you add in, a lot of the stuff going on with the media rights. We weren't sure what's going to happen with WWE, AEW, the NBA. A lot has happened this year.
Oh, I know. And it's like, you're kind of at that point in the decade where, everything's starting to really shift, like towards like what's really going to start defining this decade. And then we're kind of seeing it front and center this year, just
Yeah,
sports wise and regular events wise.
yeah, I thought it was a very interesting year. Um, Obviously, as I mentioned, I really feel like, you know, it used to be March was the biggest sports month of the year, and it still was this year. We had all this stuff going on with the MLB season starting up, NBA playoffs right around the corner, NFL free agency, obviously March Madness and everything going on with that. But I have been telling people, and I've done interviews with, friend of the show and former colleagues of mine at Buckshore Radio and Believe in Media over the fall here. I can't remember a busier time for football. And I think with the baseball playoffs included and all the news going on in the world, and now we got Raw going to Netflix, obviously, in January, and everything that's been happening in professional wrestling lately. I cannot remember a busier sports time in the fall where I've told you between when I'm watching Survivor or The Floor or any other show, I have not had any time to watch any Christmas movies, barely.
Oh no, I totally get that, and I like as you know, I work nights, so like I've half the time I'm coming home and I'm just like I'm just grabbing whatever you know fast food places open past midnight, and I'm coming home and I'm showering, I'm sitting down, I'm packing a bong and hitting that and just passing out on my couch, so I don't really have much time to be watching the Polar Express. And if I am, I'm only going to watch like the first half hour and pass out. So
All
I mean,
right.
I still got to watch Die Hard and Home Alone and all these. I mean, Jesus. I mean, the only thing that I've Christmassy that I've really contributed was watching the Family Guy Christmas special, and that kind of sucked.
And at this time, I want all you viewers know, it is December 14th, so we are 10 days away from Christmas Eve. And by the way, tonight's a busy night. At the time of this recording, we got Saturday night's main event to return tonight.
Yeah, that's gonna be really awesome. And isn't
So
Jesse Ventura a commentator on that?
Jesse Ventura is on commentary. I just
Oh, that's gonna
saw
be the funniest thing on the planet.
I just saw a clip right before this. I forgot that actually Mr. CM Punk still does Bellator MMA commentary, and he sort of gave a little hint that he might be on commentary tonight. Who knows? So that should be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be wildly entertaining. I will say that I am going to be watching this, and one of the reasons is because Jesse Ventura is the commentator. I mean, how can you not love that?
So speaking of wrestling, actually, that's a great transition. Because I wanted to bring you on because obviously you and I were together for SummerSlam weekend. Um,
Absolutely.
a weekend that we will never forget. We have planned it for months. We were obviously back and forth. We had to deal with a bunch of situations. I ended up getting, as the people know, because I've told this story a little bit, though I did not go in full detail on everything that happened that weekend, about the ticket upgrade and our experience that happened the day of SummerSlam. But you want to kind of take us through and walk us back through memory lane of that entire weekend?
Yeah, that was pretty insane. I mean, I guess we could start with what was it Friday, right? Was kind of when
Yes.
it kicked off. Okay, so yeah, you were down there like early. Like around like what? Like didn't you get down there like downtown like around 11
I
o'clock?
was downtown at 11 because I had went because you obviously were working nights and you didn't have that much interest in seeing the Damien Priest
Yeah.
Agora Theater documentary, the debut, and they had a Q&A session afterwards with the Judgment Day. And I had plans to take a few other friends, and then things came up, and so I ended up just going on my own. It was a phenomenal experience. And I ended up, believe it or not, sitting right behind the family of what was at the time El Champion.
Wow. I don't think I remember hearing that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah,
that was that. And then we came outside. There was projections that there was going to be rain potentially in the forecast on Friday, but it was more like maybe a sprinkle, maybe later in the afternoon. No, at about 2 o'clock it was a downpour. Um, and so, me having to be out in that with my physical disability, I ended up getting to Tower City, which was all blocked off, which was the other issue because the van I was taking could not drop me off their usual location. And because the way the system works, they have to, by law, there's certain place where they can pick you up, where they can drop you off because it is a door-to-door service. So, I had to essentially navigate my way around downtown in the soaking rain, which was fun somewhat. And then when I got there, obviously to check out the superstore and everything before you had arrived.
yeah. I'll tell you my story of getting down there. So I live 2 blocks away from what's basically considered the express bus, and so I'm literally a 10 minute ride away from being downtown, which is really convenient. Except when you're walking to the bus stop and you see the bus go by 5 minutes early from when the schedule tells you, and not even a minute later, you're walking to the bus stop and it starts pouring down rain. And so I'm walking to the bus stop and I get there. And of course, when I get to the bus stop, it stops raining and I'm already soaking wet. And I'm like, I please don't let this be an omen for the weekend. Like I'm just like, what? And I'm like, I haven't been out of my apartment for 5 minutes and I'm already soaked and I missed the bus. And so I'm like, son of a bitch.
So
And
I so I stop, I get a Dunkin' coffee. I'm waiting for you because you keep giving me updates like every 5 minutes.
yeah, because I told you, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on my way for the bunch of beer, and then I'm like, oh shit. Well, it kind of came early, so you just sit tight for like a half hour.
So in that half hour, I go into the superstore just to check some stuff out, give you a little something to see like what you may like. And I gotta say, again, obviously you're downtown, it's WWE, it's a big event. Like I knew, prices were gonna be more than usual, but just in terms of stuff, I was actually kind of impressed with how much different stuff they had.
Oh yeah, they had a lot of and it wasn't just like they're like, oh, just get like a $40 T-shirt that says SummerSlam on it. They had loads of different designs that were just awesome. Hats, bags, shirts, posts, everything. I mean that you could imagine.
And so obviously, that was very fun. And then I thought, even though, obviously we didn't get the best view of the world, being out there for that 1 hour media event with Triple H and Michael Cole and Pat McAfee and all the wrestlers, that was a hell of an environment.
That was really cool, and I just remember it being so humid outside because
Yes.
the summers. See, this is what you talk about the winters in Cleveland being horrible. The summers here are just atrocious.
That's
I
your
mean, it's
opinion.
oh my god. I mean, it's like being in Florida, and not the fun Miami part of Florida, the Panhandle alligator swamp meth heads area of Florida. I mean,
Okay.
that's literally what it feels like. And so like I had brought a hoodie because it gets cool and then they keep the arena cool where they had SmackDown. So I'm like, okay, let me bring this hoodie and I'm just sweating through it. And if you didn't have your chair, I'd be holding onto this sweaty, soaking hoodie. And I'm like, I'm just gonna hang this on on the back of your chair. And Will's out there dying, and it's just like, hey, here comes Pat McAfee, and I'm like, okay, good, this thing's starting soon.
So, and then, SmackDown the night before, I had told you going into it because I want to address the viewers here that you are not a regular watcher of WWE on a regular basis, but you do check out the
No,
major events and you do go to me with all these events because you believe, like I do. I think going to wrestling, honestly, more than a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game, like, I think it's one of the most exciting things you can go to.
oh yeah, I agree. And like I tell people, like I'll tell like I'll talk to a lot of my coworkers because when Raw and SmackDown do come, because working at nights I have to have a quote unquote migraine so that we can go to these events. Um and I told my coworkers that if this was maybe, let's say, shit, maybe even 6 years ago, if you were to tell me, hey, did you want to go to Raw or did you want to go to SmackDown, and be like, I don't know. I mean, do I really want to spend money on that? But I mean, it's gotten so good where even people that don't regularly follow it. But it's like, hey, do you want to go to SmackDown? It's coming. It's like, hell yeah, I want to go to SmackDown. It's going to be a good show no matter what, especially around here because they always seem to put on a good show for a good crowd like us.
It feels like the old days, back in the day when you would tell your aunt and uncle, you see them around the holidays, hey, did you watch wrestling? And they go, yeah, I'll check it out once in a while, WrestleMania, whatever. I heard it was coming here. And the fact that we have NFL teams now actively trolling WWE wrestlers with gifs and emojis, I never thought I'd see the day.
Oh, I know. It's wild how part of the culture it's becoming again, and how like just one man getting ousted can kind of cause this little revolution to happen again.
It's unbelievable. And the funny thing is, because I mean, we did cover the documentary of that said guy, which was incredible. Some of those moments I cannot talk about. I don't believe on this podcast. I don't want to dive into the gory details because, dear God. Um, but
Let's just say there ain't no party like a Vince party.
yeah. It's crazy that, even the fact that WWE has pretty much gone out of their way to pretty much say, yeah, everything since 1982 in this company, we don't want to acknowledge anymore.
Which is
But
wild. I mean, it's just
it is, and for a company so based off history, and they do show clips and they do mention things obviously from past storylines because it's really hard to, but they try to ignore the fact that everything was created by a certain person.
I know. I mean, and I'm curious. Like, I mean, because realistically, like you can't Benoit the guy, and also like the whole Benoit, like Benoit has also kind of seemed to backfire because I don't know if you know that like I think the same we went and saw this in the theater um was the Iron Claw, the
Yes,
same
that was a
film
really good
company.
movie.
Yeah, the same film company that's making that is supposedly are making a Eddie
Eddie
Guerrero
Guerrero,
biopic.
yeah.
Well, gee, guess who you're going to have to cast in a movie like that, and they already are. Is somebody to play Chris Benoit. So I mean, like, there's been people that have been mentioning they're like, are they going to kind of slowly transition him back a little bit because like if they're going to have this Eddie Guerrero biopic, there's so many key parts of Eddie Guerrero's career that involve Chris Benoit. Are you just gonna have to like do like a disclaimer like at the
Yeah.
beginning that's just like hey, this guy did a horrific thing, but he's also like a major part of WWE history. I don't know. I don't know if I had to shoehorn that in, but I'm just kind of curious with that.
Yeah, I'll just say that, I know that you haven't seen the Netflix documentary in whole, but the Benoit episode is worth watching alone.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like and just the magnitude of the Chris Benoit situation when there's and this is a small sample, but there's people at my work that don't know shit about wrestling, but you say the name Chris Benoit and they get irked.
That and oh God, the Owen Hart episode. Um,
I don't even want
That
to watch that.
that was just to hear the reaction of the former WWE boss was disturbing. But what's
Because he's a psychopath.
yeah. Okay. So let's fast forward then. Let's get into our SummerSlam day. The viewers know essentially the crux of the story that, we were given the runaround in the stadium. We had these exclusive seats. We couldn't find them. We eventually end up freaking backstage with all the wrestlers at
Oh, I
one
know.
point. And we end up finding our seats. We end up having a great time at the event. But I keep telling the people, that day, if there were to find a day this year, it is still I can really remember every little thing that happened that day.
Oh, I know. And I just remember, like, we were just sitting in traffic, like on the Shoreway Bridge, which is like one of the main roads into downtown, and it is the road that you got to get off of in order to get to Brown Stadium, which is where this was, and it was backed up. It was like we lived in fucking L.A. I mean, it was all the way backed up, and we're just sitting there. We're patient. We got down there early, like like we were supposed to, and so we're just
We
chilling in
were
the car,
at we,
bullshitting.
we were at the stadium technically at 4:30, and then our parking pass didn't work, like out of all things.
Yeah,
And so to make a long story short, we were technically at that building at 4:30. We didn't get to our seats till about what, 7:30, half hour when the show got in. I
yeah.
think I think Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan were making their entrances because that was the first match of the night.
Did you
Um,
tell people how that got spoiled? How the-
Well, no, for us it got spoiled because we were walking, and I told you I knew it immediately because I recognized the signs when they show them on TV.
Yeah.
And then I saw the gorilla sign this way. I knew we were backstage.
Hmm.
But yeah, we saw Rhea Ripley and Dom and Priest, and I think Liv was there. I don't remember.
Yeah. And
Um,
CM Punk, you didn't see it. I don't know how you didn't see it, but CM Punk and Drew McIntyre walked right in front of you.
no, I did not, and breaking kayfabe there.
It was really cool being backstage. 'Cause I just want to point this out is that you look at these guys and you're like, oh my God, they actually do exist.
Yes.
Like, it's
Um,
wild.
it is wild, and we're going to the first Raw in Cleveland since SummerSlam was there. That is the night or two
Quick,
nights, I should
I
say.
don't mean to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
Did you tell him what Billy did when he saw Cody Rhodes?
No, I did not.
Okay, this was the best. So you his older brother. So we're all backstage, and his older brothers just see we just see Cody Rhodes like walking by. Now the lady that brought us back there, the whole reason why she brought us back there was because during Browns games, I'd imagine you can cut through that area rather easily. But they had the entrance set up to where like the area between I think like the entrance to
Yeah,
both locker rooms was
to
their backstage.
to where like that's where the wrestlers come out at.
Yeah. And so they were like, no, you can't, do this easy access to. This is where they really fucked up because they were treating it like a Browns game.
Yes.
And you can't do that with stuff. And I guess like they were doing it because what the Rolling Stones performed there, like a couple of weeks before
That's
SummerSlam.
right. And they said, we were talking to the workers there. They said, you think this was a disaster. You ought to see that.
Oh, and the Rolling Stones tickets were 10 times more than they were for SummerSlam. So I would have been, oh God, I can't even imagine the financial hit. But anyway, yeah. So we're backstage, and the lady takes us back there, and she's like, please don't. She tells us before we go back there, she's like, please don't record or like talk to any of them and everything. And we're like, okay, hey, it's easy. And we're literally walking back, and we see Cody Rhodes walking, and your older brother just goes, Cody. And he looks over and like salutes us, and the lady's like, please don't acknowledge the wrestlers or record anything, please. I'm not trying to lose my job. And we're all fanboying, like, oh my God.
It's hard not to. It's natural
Oh, I
reaction.
know. No. And even like somebody like me who like doesn't watch like wrestling and everything, I'm just looking around, I'm like, holy shit, there's Dominic Mysterio.
Oh,
Like I'm
oh.
impressed by him.
A guy who gets booed out of the building, and you're like, holy shit, that's him.
Oh, like if I saw you in public, I'd just be like, "Yo, like when you come to Cleveland, you're wildly entertaining, my man."
Yeah. All right, so that was obviously a night we'll never forget. But I do want to transition a little bit. I want to move away from college or from WWE a little bit. I want to talk to you about college football. Um, I'm very fascinated to hear your take on this because you know me, I am a very casual college football fan. I used to not watch a lot of the games in September and October when these teams like Georgia and Bama, Clemson, Ohio State back in the day, would play Mercer or, Akron State, or, whatever, make up a name of a school. Um, I do like this SEC Big Ten expansion. I think that it's given us better games in the regular season. But now, I mean, Belichick is under the ACC. Conference championship games to me don't seem to matter. It seems like you're more punished to me if you win them than lose them. I think the 12-team format is even more of a disaster than the 4-team format. There's no governing body in the sport. I think it's a freaking mess. But what do you think as an Ohio State fan?
Um, well, as an Ohio State fan, we're going to be getting in the playoffs no matter what every year, even with a terrible coach and a mediocre quarterback. Um, but it just seems like a lot of this is at least a 12-team playoff is very forced. And it seems like it's a product of a lot of teams like like I don't know if you remember like when you UCF or USF whichever ended up going undefeated, and they were they didn't make the playoff, and like they were doing this like weird shit where they're like, oh well, technically we're the national champions, and it's like that's not how it works because even if you did make the playoff, you would have gotten destroyed by whoever you faced because you weren't that good. Like it just seems like I don't know. It seems like that was like the starting point where it was like a lot of these schools, and then what was it? TCU got fucked over one year. You
Yeah, and
know,
they're trying to give smaller schools a chance to believe that they actually. I mean, nobody believes. And no offense to Boise State, you used to love their blue turf and everything that they had, and
I
you
still
know,
do.
no offense to Arizona State, but nobody believes they're the third and fourth best team in the country.
Oh no, and it's weird rankings too. I mean, Boise State. Yeah, do they have the guy who should win the Heisman? Absolutely. But I mean, are they gonna could they beat Ohio State? Could they beat Tennessee? Absolutely not.
That's the
They
other thing. I haven't really gotten into it that much on my show, but the Heisman Trophy feels worthless now. It feels like nothing. Feels like an
Well, yeah, because
afterthought.
because you have these dumbass reporters like Dan Orlovsky voting on it. I mean that idiot literally that pissed me off so much. I don't know if you saw that, but like Dan Orlovsky, who's on the Heisman voting committee, put out a video on Twitter where he's just like, "Oh look, Travis Hunter's team sent me this really cool like gift box. Now we know who you're voting for."
Yeah.
It's like what the fuck? You have a guy, was it Ashton Genty who that's how you say his name, correct?
I
Um,
believe so, yeah.
yeah, he is putting up insane numbers, and then I hate these people that are like, oh, he's going to Boise State. Why is that? Are you fucking serious? Travis Hunter is on Colorado, which is practically the same team. I mean,
Yeah.
except you're talking about strength of schedule. Well, they both have had the similar schedule, and guess who's the better football player? It's not Travis Hunter. I mean,
Well,
are we
I
are we
I
really
don't know
doing
about
this?
that. I think the fact that Travis Hunter can play two-way, I mean, he could be the Shohei Ohtani of football.
Yeah, it's wildly impressive, but when you look at who's had a better season and who's made a bigger impact on college football, who do you think it is?
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's
that's a good point. I didn't think about the better impact on college
Genti
football.
was on nobody's radar until he was just like, "Hey, I'm really good at football."
Yeah, that's a great point. And what I have said too about the 12-team CFP is you guys were going to argue if it was four who the fifth best team is. You're going to argue at 12 who the 13th best team is, and they should have been in.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
yeah,
I think the college football playoff should have expanded to only eight. To be
see,
to be
I
honest, yeah,
said six. I thought six would have been the perfect number. You
Yeah,
get your,
six would have been cool. Eight's being generous as well too, because it's just kind of that's kind of
yeah,
where it's
but
like, let's let a couple of these other schools duke it out, you know. Because even if you did, you'd have a little Ohio State's a 16 this year, right?
technically, yeah, but they're ranked eight.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you have an eight-team playoff. You're still having some of the top schools in, you know, which is what you want. And I'm saying this as in an unbiased way. I mean, yeah, you do want some of those heavy hitters. Yeah, is it okay if they miss every now and then?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it a tragedy that Alabama's not in it this year? Not really.
No, they shouldn't even. That's my problem with the 12 team is they shouldn't even have been in the conversation.
Oh,
They're
hell no.
they lost to Oklahoma, who was what were they 6-6 this year? They only scored 3 points, and then they lost to Vanderbilt. Now I don't think Vanderbilt slouches anymore. I think one of the things the NIL has done in a positive way is you're taking Georgia and Alabama's third or fourth best receiver, and you're making him the number one guy on Georgia Tech or Vanderbilt or whoever in the conference. So it is a little bit strengthening those bottom teams. But like I said before, when you have just commissioners of conferences running the sport and you don't have one governing body, I mean, this sport is now turning into a 365-day recruitment transfer portal nonsense. It's why Chip Kelly said, I don't want to be a head coach anymore. I'd rather be an offensive coordinator. It's why Jeff Apley, the Boston College head coach, went to the NFL and said, I'd rather be a defensive coordinator with the Green Bay Packers, which is why I don't understand the Belichick move.
Uh, yeah, I part of me has a feeling that the Belichick move is him saying, I've done everything that I can imagine in the NFL. Let me see if I can, make my mark on college football. I mean, if he could come in and turn a basketball school into a football powerhouse for at least 5 years, get a national championship, even at the lowest, for him would probably be a national championship appearance. You know, I mean, like then it's like, okay, he really is the greatest football coach of all time. Because guess who else? And how many times have we said this? Have I told you this? He's the Paul Brown of this generation. Guess who started off in college and also dominated college football?
Paul
Paul
Brown.
Brown. So if he really wants to be like Paul Brown, which he very well can be, this is his way of doing it.
See, I see it as I know he's in a 5-year contract, but did you see the clause in the contract?
I didn't read like the full details because like a lot of this news has been breaking while I've been at work.
Yes.
And, for people that don't know, we've had insane weather for this time of year around here. And I work outside at the airport and it's hell during the winter. And so, like I just caught like a glimpse of it. And then like by the time I come home, I'm tired. So it's like, I've just been on like a weird schedule because it's been our peak season. But
Okay,
no, I
so
haven't really.
so
Anyway.
let me break it down for you because it's very interesting. So he's getting about an average of 10 million a year over the 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, as of June 2nd of this upcoming year, 2025, his buyout rate goes from 10 million to 1 million.
Hmm.
Meaning, if he were to leave at any point after June 2nd, he'd only have to give $1 million back. Um, so I've said this all along, even before that was reported. My first guess was because it was also reported that it is in the contract that when he does leave North Carolina, that his son Steve would essentially be the next in line, the way they did it in New England, where Gerard Mayo was essentially handpicked to be the next guy in line. I think Bill's doing this for 1 year. I think he's leaving. I think he's giving it to Steve, and I think he's going to try to find his way back in the NFL again. That's what I got from the whole deal.
That's very possible. I mean, because he's like you were telling me, the only offer, like the only true, and it's Belichick, so he wants to have control of an entire team. And
Which
I think you said that,
nobody will give him. If I have been read and I've heard and I've listened from all the reporting out there from multiple NFL sources. It sounds like Bill would have been the Falcons coach if he didn't want personnel control.
yeah, and that would have been interesting because you think he would have been, you think he would have been able to win with Kirk Cousins? Like,
Well, I don't think they would have gone after Kirk, and I don't think that Michael Penix would have been the first round pick.
oh well, oh no, that was a fucking boneheaded move.
Well, are we
You
sure
saw how
about
pissed
that?
Arthur Blank
Let me
look.
ask you, are you sure about that? Because right now, to me, it looks like a genius move. Because Kirk Cousins looks like he can't play quarterback anymore.
Yeah, he can't, but you can't deny that this quarterback class is a little bit better than last year, maybe in terms of at least with Michael Penix.
I think this quarterback class has a chance to be historic. I think that we are looking at potentially the best quarterback class of all time, and I'm not joking. I think we're going to get at least three Pro Bowlers out of it, if not four. I still think J.J. McCarthy has a bright future, specifically with where he landed. I think he's going to work. I think he's going to be Sam Darnold and younger in Minnesota. And I'll tell you what, I think Penix getting a chance to sit behind Cousins. He's very accurate. He has a very good offensive line. He's going to be playing most of his games in warm weather in the South. I think Drake May is showing that he can play in New England. I think Caleb has shown, even though he's not winning games, he's rising above what was a disaster this year in Chicago. Like, I look at all six of those first round quarterbacks, and I don't see bust right now out of any single one of them.
No, I don't either. I mean, well, Penix is kind of hard to judge because we haven't seen him actually like play, but I mean, I'm sure we'll get some more opportunities. Yeah, Caleb Williams is, I don't really like the guy, but he hasn't looked like Jamarcus Russell like I thought he might. So he's
You
already
you are
kind of
big
beat
on the
me.
nails being painted and the attitude, and I just don't understand it.
Not really that. No, it's not that. It's just I could give two shits about that stuff. It's that he just acts like he acts like an entitled douche. That's what I can't stand about him. And like the shit that like what came out like before the draft where he's like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere but the Cowboys. And if anybody but the Cowboys drafts me, I want an ownership stake. Like just hearing that shit is like, who the fuck do you think you are? And what year do you think this is? You're the quarterback for USC. That don't mean shit anymore. I mean, this isn't 2005 where you have Matt Leinart going in the first round. You know, I mean, it's like it's just and you kind of prove that you can't really win big games in college. So how the fuck's that going to translate to the NFL in a division like the NFC North where you got Green Bay and Detroit and now Minnesota breathing down your neck? I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
I
it's
said before the year, was it everybody wrote off Sam Darnold and the Vikings? I thought they were going to be the best fourth place team in football. I did not think they'd be this good, but I thought Darnold had a chance to be the Baker Mayfield of this year with that coach and those weapons. People were laughing at me, and look at Minnesota now.
oh yeah, and it's just showing how great of a coach Kevin O'Connell is. I mean, that guy's easily a top five coach in the league.
We know that coaching matters. It's the one sport where it does. So, listen, I have to ask you, you're a Browns fan. Um, I've talked about it with everybody. We know about the disaster that's looming with Deshaun Watson and Barry and Stefanski. We've had a lot of conversations about it via text. I'll just ask you here on the air. What not what you want the Browns to do necessarily, but what do you think they're gonna do with this whole mess?
My gut tells me that they're gonna bring back everybody, which is just a horrible thing that you can do. I mean, I have a feeling that Andrew Barry is heavily manipulating Jimmy Haslam because you watch one interview with Jimmy Haslam and he's a bumbling idiot. How this guy made his fortune in oil just blows my mind. Um, you need to fire Andrew Barry. That guy is a toxic front office worker. And I don't know how he is. I mean, sure, he's a great guy, probably is, but he is one of the worst general managers that we've had probably since what cocainus. I mean, this guy's just terrible. I mean, I would rather have Ray Farmer than this fucking moron. And that's saying something. When you execute the worst trade in the league, you still can't draft. I mean, what's going on here? How are you? You're not the most qualified man for the job. I'm sorry. And when Vikings fans are on Twitter saying thank you, Andrew Berry, for making everybody forget about Herschel Walker, I don't think that you should have much job security. And the fact that this guy hasn't been fired yet, it just blows my mind. And then you were telling me that there's rumors going around that Stefanski's like, yeah, dude, I'm out. I don't want to do this job anymore.
Yeah,
You know,
there's
and if
rumors
that
going
happens,
around that Barry's leaking those stories also to protect himself. So
yeah, and it just shows what a scumbag this guy is. He's
yeah,
just a fucking scumbag.
but I will say, not to defend anybody, but just to take a look at what the NFL is. We know that in the NFL, generally, if you get the coach right and you get the quarterback right, I mean, look at the Texans. The Texans 3 years ago, I think, were as a disaster as maybe the Browns, the Bears, and the Jets and the Giants are right now. And all they did was get a quarterback and a coach, and look at them.
Yeah, gee, who did they get rid of that caused them to not be such a shitty organization? I can't quite put my finger on it. Would you
Um,
like? Could you refresh me on that man's name? I'm kind of drawing a blank. It's not like we haven't, it's not like he's not the most talked about athlete here since LeBron.
Um, okay, well, you know what? You mentioned LeBron, so I know we're running out of time. We got a few minutes left, but I wanted to ask you an NBA question. A couple of them actually, because we haven't really gotten into this a lot via text. I kind of wanted to save it for the on the air conversation. I want to first start with what's your thoughts on this NBA Cup? I hate it. I can't stand it. I was so happy that the Cavs' two losses they had were both in that cup to the Celtics and Hawks. 'Cause I didn't want to deal with that stupid crap.
Oh yeah, it's one of the dumbest things. It's one of the dumbest things that they've done, and it's just contributing to the downfall of the NBA. And I'm not trying to be a doomer and everything like that, saying like just because the ratings are down and all that stuff. It's becoming a cultural thing. I don't know if you saw there was a really good Twitter thread, and I don't know who it was by, but they were talking about how basketball is becoming an upper middle class sport, and what made
Mm.
basketball great that it was all you needed was a ball and some shoes.
And the
You
hoop
know,
anywhere.
yeah, yeah, and you had like these guys, like Karan Butler. There's a name there. There's a name for us
Oh man,
old
that's
school
an old
motherfuckers.
school.
But if you don't know how about his story, he started getting into basketball when he was in juvie. I mean, he ended up, they had a basketball court at this, you know, basically kids prison that he was at, you know, and he had height, and I guess the guards would let him practice, and he fell in love with the game and was like, all right, this is my way out. You had a lot of good stories like that. I mean, LeBron James came from fucking nothing. He has stories about him eating ketchup because that's all that they had in their fridge. But you just don't really have a lot of these stories really anymore. I mean, the whole Bronny thing has pissed people off because he's a terrible basketball player. In case you
He
haven't
is,
known,
but
I
but
mean,
let's
it's
face it, the fact that he did get drafted by the Lakers and the fact that they did play a game together, I don't care that he's a terrible basketball player. I'm sorry, that was one of the coolest moments of the year because we've never seen it happen and we didn't think it was going to happen.
I guess, but but having them hype it up like this is going to be, Ken Griffey Jr. playing with Ken Griffey Sr. Here's the difference: Ken Griffey Jr. was miles better than his father. That's what made it
See,
interesting.
I think that was more media narrative than LeBron driven. Um, I
Oh yeah,
will.
no, I'm not saying it isn't. The media is definitely has a huge part of the blame with this as well. The NBA media is terrible. Shams is a piece of shit, by the way.
Speaking of LeBron, I don't know if I threw this at you, but let me throw it at you now. No one is talking about it. I know he's on this little sabbatical or whatever he's doing right now.
Oh, I think I know what you're gonna say.
He's
Go
away
on.
from the Lakers. No. I said before, I don't think you know what I'm gonna say at all because it doesn't have to deal with the Cavs at all. Um, I had said that when Bronny got drafted, I don't think LeBron's waiting for Bryce. I don't think LeBron wants a Kobe Bryant as retirement tour. I don't think LeBron is chasing championships anymore. I think LeBron wanted one season with his son to play as many games with him as he possibly could. And I think LeBron at the end of this season is going to quietly hang up the boots.
I could see that. Also, the fact that JJ Redick is a fucking terrible coach, and that was mostly LeBron's idea.
Yeah.
Gee, who'd have saw that coming?
So the NBA.
It's almost like they should have hired a real coach like Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, I've been saying it for weeks here on this show that JB Bickerstaff deserves to be in prison for what he made us think of this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Who would have thought that, all it takes is a good coach and a change in offensive philosophy? But I want to get back. I want to ask you a couple quick questions just in
Real
general
quick,
about.
my,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. You know this, but nobody else knows it. My favorite JB Bickerstaff moment was during the playoffs last year against the
Oh,
Magic.
yeah.
When
It
so I turned the game on and we were like it was the fourth quarter. It was like the end of the third quarter,
was
start of
game
the fourth.
three, right, against
Yeah,
Orlando?
yeah. The first game in Orlando and the series was tied, right? Or no, no,
No, it
no,
was
no.
2
We were up
nothing.
2-0. Yeah, because everybody won their home game.
Yep.
But I just remember like, we were kind of in it and it was like, okay, we just kind of need to pull away. We need like one, like, like maybe like 14-4 run to really kind of get this going. And we're sluggish and they do, like the NBA playoffs, they do that mic'd up thing with all these coaches and they
Yep.
go over to our sideline. We're down like 12 or something. Okay, so we really need a good run. And he goes, we just got to chip away at it together as a team. Cut the game off. Because when you're doing that middle school shit, when you have Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, who shocker, the guy plays like Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett. Who would have seen that coming other than anybody who knows basketball? Yeah, like when you see a guy say that to one of the best players in the league, oh, let's play together as a team. There's no hope. There was no hope for that game. But guess what? They lost. So, so I
uh,
occupied my 20 minutes or 20 or 30 minutes with something way better.
Speaking of the NBA, and the TV and the playoffs and the mic'd up, I want to talk to you real quick about the new media rights contract because we know ESPN and ABC is retained. We know NBC and Peacock are coming in, and we know Amazon Prime and obviously they have a new deal. And now it's reported that Inside the NBA is moving over to the ESPN, ABC networks. It sounds like there's going to be a game on every single day, which I don't love. And with the NBA's popularity and decline, as you mentioned, like it's a weird time for the league right now.
Yeah, and it's a really bad time for the league too. Is it bad that there's going to be games on every day, or not really? Do we know what is bad though? The lack of access that people have to them. The people wonder. You keep seeing this going around lately. The NBA ratings are absolutely terrible. And while I would imagine they are, they're not factoring in pirated streams. And which I get why they don't want to. But if you factor those in, the ratings are pretty average. The only reason why nobody's really watching it is because nobody wants to be paying $200 to watch their favorite team when not only 5 years ago you could watch it for free.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I mean, if we're
Well,
being honest, I mean, it's
Well,
just
I think not only that, but I think, and again, I like the 3-point shot. I like analytics. I think what Kenny Atkinson's done with this Cavs team of, shooting more threes than anybody. And, if you make more, you're going to win the game. Same way the Celtics have done it. But it makes for a really aesthetically unappeasing product. I mean, it is threes and dunks now. There is no mid range. There is no physicality really in the lane anymore. I don't know if you saw that clip going around a couple weeks ago where the Lakers and Suns shot nothing but 3-point bricks for 2 minutes straight.
no, I haven't seen that. But I mean, I totally get why people don't like the product of the game because it's not that it isn't good. And like when you had like all those like old heads being like, oh, Steph Curry's ruining the game, you kind of like had like this like like this like okay boomer moment, but you're kind of starting to see it now where it's like, yeah, I kind of get what they were saying, where it's like everybody's just jacking up three. What are all these kids that are coming into the NBA now doing? They were growing up when Steph Curry was
Yeah.
the most dominant player in the league. All they're doing is jacking up threes.
And I think
And
the
it's like,
other thing
if you're good
is,
at it, go ahead and do it. But you got people that are not good at it that want to be Steph Curry, and it's like, no, no, dude, you need to go in, you need to go into the paint and get your point.
Yeah, and we have, I don't want to say it's baseball level bad of marketing, but, we are at the end of LeBron, Steph, KD, and they still feel like the big three in terms of marketing in the NBA. We have guys like, Anthony Edwards and SGA and Jokic. And, if you want to put, Jason Tatum in there, and some of these others,
Donovan Mitchell's obviously
Donovan
another one too.
Mitchell, some of these other stars that maybe aren't superstars yet, but they're gonna be potentially there, but they just don't have that. I gotta get to a TV set. I think Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio is that guy, but there's two factors here. One is they're in San Antonio, which they did have a dynasty with Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich, but they were very New England-esque. Do your job. They were not a Kansas City, very fun dynasty. And the other thing is, nothing against international players, but Wemby is not American. And I do wonder if that is harder for people like us that are Americans to get a hold of, to wrap our arms around.
I don't think so because I mean you've had foreign players before that people loved. I mean, believe it or not, a lot of NBA players' favorite players growing up could have been like Manu Ginobili,
Yeah, Dirk
or
Nowitzki,
Yeah, Dirk Yao Ming.
even
I mean,
like
these
way
are.
back in the day, like Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh yeah, Keem the Dream. I mean, my grandpa lived in Houston in the '80s when he played for the Houston Cougars, and he saw him play a couple times, and it was just like, I mean, he was so fun to watch. I mean, in terms of, and, in terms of like past, like if I had to pick a favorite player before I was born, it's Hakeem Olajuwon
Yeah.
because he just the way that he played the game was so pure. I mean, Tim Duncan was from the Bahamas, for God's sake. Everybody loved him growing up too. I mean, so it's just, I mean, that I don't really think that's the issue here. I think I really think it comes down to access to the game. AAU has been a disaster. What a lot of people don't point out is that
Yeah.
Kobe was a vocal hater of AAU and said that they don't teach the fundamentals. It's all about highlight reels and dunks, and
Yeah.
and like,
Well,
am I going
that
to be
and
flashy?
Adam Silver has also not embraced college basketball at
No,
all.
and no, Adam Silver is on a fucking Gary Bettman level run right now. It is
We,
fascinating to
we
watch.
thought David Stern was a bad commissioner, and he wasn't the best commissioner in the world, but at least he had a hold on the league.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are like, pointing out. And this might not be one of the best examples, but I mean, it's just an example of like what a hard ass he was and how he ran this shit like a fucking mob boss. Like when Allen Iverson was like showing up to games and everything, and this was like he was showing up in like baggy clothes and shit like that. David Stern was like, all right, everybody has to show up in suits and shit like that. And while it's petty, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, no, we're a serious league, and everything like that. Now it's just kind of you literally have the inmates running the asylum.
Yeah. Now I want to throw one more thing out to you because I thought it was interesting. I was listening to not the herd with Colin Cowherd, but I was listening to Cowherd's podcast on the volume. And he had on Nick Wright, and Nick floated out this theory that I did not think about, but I thought it was interesting. And he said, you know what? If everybody wants free points and everybody loves shooting the free, you know what they should do? Make dunks worth 3 points.
You know what though? But you don't have to do all this stuff. See, this is the thing that's like really aggravating is that they're like, well, how do we get people to watch? See, this is where the NBA being really tone deaf is good. This is what's really going to screw them. Is that they're like, oh well, what do we do to get people to watch? They're already doing it. Let's do the NBA Cup. Let's get people more involved. More
It's
interested
not
in this shit.
working at
No,
all.
and what makes you think that fucking with the scoring? You got people saying they're like, oh, add a 4 point line. Are you fucking kidding me? So it can be even more like how it is today.
I
You
always
gotta.
thought if you made a legit full court shot, it should be worth four.
Okay, yeah, that would be that's something that you can try because it doesn't happen all the time. It might make it might make players get better at full court shots. I mean, how many times have you seen LeBron make full court shots with ease during practice? And can you imagine like players doing that shit during a game? like especially like when you're in desperation mode,
Yeah,
you could be down 12, and it's with
three
I
full
don't know,
quarters
yeah,
theoretically.
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I kind of thought the idea was interesting. Nonetheless, I thought, maybe it would at least get people in the lane a little bit more.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think you gotta encourage more physical play, more trash talk. I mean that's a huge part of the game that's missing, and it's
Yeah.
because you don't have a lot of these guys that grew up in tough environments that needed to be able to talk shit
Yeah.
and fight in order to survive.
I
You
mean,
have these guys that are
is
showing
the
up to games and fucking
solution?
escalades.
Let me ask you this: is the solution just to go to international Olympic rules?
That might help. You know how good the Olympics are when it comes to basketball? That's like one of the only things that I
Well,
watched.
well, this year it was because I thought, it was the last time that we were going to be significantly favored.
Yeah, true. I mean, nobody really seems to, I mean, Eastern Europe. I mean, God, what was it? Serbia gave us a hell of a fight,
Yeah,
and it's because they have some of the best
We
players.
should have lost in the semifinal. There's no doubt about it. If it wasn't for Steph Curry.
Oh yeah, guess what? Steph Curry ain't gonna be there at the next Olympics.
No, and neither is LeBron, neither is KD. And I think Anthony Edwards has that mentality. I don't know if anybody else on the team does. I mean, we got Tyrese Albert. Not that he's a bad player, but you don't think of him as an Olympic level player, in my opinion.
No,
Um,
Anthony
so
Edwards is like the only kind of hope because he's Anthony Edwards is like one of like the only few players in the league lately that'll dunk on somebody and get in their face and go, "Yeah, bitch."
but
I mean,
now, even now, he's
you need
averaging
that.
15 threes a game. Like he's gone back to just jacking up the three.
Yeah, I mean, and now it's and I don't know if these guys are just stat chasing or what.
That
I mean, it's just
and the All-Star game was a mess, and now they're going to do this group play. I don't even want to watch it. I think it's the dumbest idea they ever came up with.
no.
Uh,
The All Star game should be, and they've suggested this for football, and I think that it's getting to the point where you should just do this with basketball, where the Pro Bowl or the All Star is just kind of like a stat,
yeah,
where
abolish
it's
it.
like
We
yeah,
don't
like it's
need
like you
it.
had a good season, you're doing really good. We'll acknowledge that you were an All Star for the year or whatever. But they don't want to be playing this game. You know,
Well, Andrew, that is all the time we have on this Parental Recording Special. I appreciate you coming on. I thought that worked out great. I thought we really dove into some interesting topics. I want to nuance stuff that we'll obviously get into more as the NFL offseason here sort of commences. I'll throw one more bone at you. You got any predictions for a Super Bowl this year?
oh God, I really don't know. Because it feels like it's anybody. It feels like it's wide open.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's
the NFC feels like it's going to be a contest between Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni of a drinking game of who's going to make the worst fourth down decision.
yeah. And I don't know. I know. I could. God, I don't know. I mean, the Lions. Part of me wants to see the Lions in the Super Bowl, but also like as a Browns fan, I kind of like that they're in a company with us and the Jaguars, who've never made the Super Bowl. And so I kind of don't want. I mean, being in that company with the Jaguars is kind of like it's like as, as a fan of a very historic team, the fact that we haven't made the Super Bowl yet is really really bad. So, um, so I kind of like to see the Lions lose so we can stay in that category. But I don't know, man. They're playing really really good, and it's just they figured it out. And so I could see the Lions in there. AFC, I mean, you know, is it going to be the Chiefs? I don't think so because they've been finding ways to win. This year. Do I think that they're going to win against the Browns tomorrow? Not really. I mean, there's part of me that's thinking that they're gonna probably that the Browns are going to beat the
There's
Browns are going to
part of
beat
me
them.
thinking that too. I'm not willing to go that far, but there's part of me thinking that too at the time of this recording. Um, before the year, my Super Bowl pick was
Ravens
Chiefs
Lions.
Lions. Okay, so you got Ravens Lions. I thought you might go Buffalo, which would be a Super Bowl preview tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, they're a wild card.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think they can make it, but I don't know. They're kind of they kind of just seem like an afterthought in that spot. Bills Lions though would be an awesome Super Bowl. That would be an all timer.
Well, Andrew, it was good to hear your voice. I'm sure to the viewers of the Braves World, it's been a long time. We've done more shows in an actual studio than we have a podcast recording. So this was excellent. Loved having you on. Thank you very much. And when we come back here on the Braves World Christmas special, it is time for me to give you my 2025 predictions in sports, the last segment before we wrap it up. Okay, folks. Thanks for sticking in with me as I know it's been a long show. We talked about very early on in this show my top 10 sports stories of 2024. Then we dove into my man Jalen Sandvik. We played a great game of fair or foul. Then I gave you my 2024, WWE Slammy Awards for the year. Then we talked to my best friend Andrew Baca on this show for the first time in nearly 3 years. And now, to wrap up the Brandon's World Christmas special for 2024, I am going to be giving you my sports predictions for 2025 in no particular order. This is what I think will happen throughout the world of sports, whether it is professional wrestling, whether it is the NBA, MLB, college, NFL, NBA, etc. These are the things that I think we will be talking about the most in 2025 from the start of the year to the end of the year. And again, it will be in no particular order here. Hey guys, it's me popping in here. I just want to let you know that once again, when I did the recording for this, my 2025 predictions in sports, I did it prior to Bill Belichick becoming the head coach of North Carolina. So, one of my predictions in sports in 2025 will be that Bill Belichick will only be the head coach of North Carolina for one season. And with that, let's get into my other 2025 sports predictions. On my list, I have that Travis Kelsey, yes, that guy, Travis Kelsey, and the New York Jets starting quarterback, Mr. Immunize himself, they will both retire. Yes, I think it's a very good possibility for Kelsey that even if the Kansas City Chiefs do not repeat this year, Kelsey has not been the same player. And I know what you're going to say, Brandon. He wasn't the same player last year, and then he turned it on in the playoffs. And yes, I agree with you. But this year, he's being used less and less and less. It just seems like to me that him and Patrick Mahomes are not on the same page. It seems like to me, with obviously Taylor Swift and everything going on in his life, he has one foot out the door. And I think Travis is beat up. I think the Chiefs may realize he's not the same player either. And I think Travis has done everything in the business. And I think Jason Kelsey will tell him, Kelsey will be retired for 1 year at this point. And Jason Kelsey went out in one of the worst ways possible with that Philadelphia Eagles collapse at the end of the 2023 season. I think Jason will tell Travis, hey, it's okay. Go be with your woman. And I think that this may be the last stand for Travis Kelsey. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't think the Jets are going to retain him next year as a starting quarterback. That team's an absolute disaster. Way to go, Devontae Adams, forcing your way out of one disaster in Las Vegas and going to another absolute disaster in the New York Jets, possibly even a bigger disaster. Um, I can't think of a team that if Aaron Rodgers were to move on from the Jets would say absolutely yes, we would have you, Aaron. I think Aaron's old. I don't think he has his fastball anymore. I don't think he can move. I think Aaron at this point would be a game manager for a veteran team with a great offensive line. I'm talking a team like a Detroit or anybody like that who Jared Goff were to suffer a career-threatening injury next year, could they bring in Aaron Rodgers? Maybe. I don't think he fit the culture there in Detroit, though, either. I think Aaron's a weird guy. I think he's been more me than team the past few years, especially skipping mandatory minicamp the past few years with the Jets. I think he's already got one foot out the door. Green Bay looks smarter by the day, moving on from him. And, going with Jordan Love, I think Aaron Rodgers will retire as well at the end of this football season. We know Monday Night Raw is moving to Netflix January 6th, 2025. We know potentially The Rock could be back. We know John Cena will be back on his retirement tour. I think that both the final boss, the People Champion, and the man that we cannot see will at some point win the WWE or World Heavyweight Championships, respectively. I don't think John Cena will do it at WrestleMania. I think he may do it at SummerSlam or another PLE. My prediction right now is he will face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship and lose at WrestleMania 41. My prediction right now for the final boss is by the Royal Rumble, whether it's the first Raw on Netflix or at the Royal Rumble himself, he will be the undisputed WWE Champion, and he will face Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 41 in a triple threat match where he will walk in as champion. Here's one for the NBA for you. One of Joel Embiid, who, my God, the Sixers are an absolute mess. Joel Embiid's a disaster. Trust the process was a complete disaster. They're a freaking mess. One of them, or Giannis Antetokounmpo, who even though the Milwaukee Bucks struggled at the beginning of the season, they are starting to gain their stride a little bit. But I still don't trust them come postseason time. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are better than them. I think the Boston Celtics are better than them. I think the New York Knicks are better than them. I even think once Pablo Banchero comes back, Orlando could be better than them. I think one of Joel Embiid or Giannis, and at this point, based on where we are in the season, it's likely Embiid, but I'll throw Giannis in there for this discussion, will be traded. There's been rumors all over the map about, what could Golden State do to potentially get Giannis Antetokounmpo down the line, give them one more shot to get Steph Curry one more championship. I don't think Milwaukee would necessarily do that, but I've said this for the past few years. I said this at the end of their playoff run last year when they were eliminated first round by the New York Knicks. The Sixers, instead of trading Joel Embiid and starting over and trying to find a way to build around Tyrese Maxey, they doubled down and they added Paul George. And Paul George is a very good player, but Paul George is an injury-prone player. And I said it at the time, I didn't trust the Sixers. A lot of people were saying they were the third, fourth, maybe even fifth best team in the East. I didn't buy it. This Sixers team, led by Nick Nurse, is a disaster. It's time for them to restart. Joel Embiid needs to go to a team where he is the third star. Um, in the NBA nowadays, we have duos. We don't really have a lot of stars. You look at Denver. They had, Nikola Jokic and obviously Jamal Murray. Boston, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Miami just has Jimmy Butler and a bunch of guys. The Lakers, obviously, LeBron and AD, very top heavy there. Phoenix, obviously, very top heavy there with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. So I don't know where a good place for Joel Embiid to go for a contender would be. Obviously, what Zach Edey and John Moran has done in Memphis would be spectacular. They don't really need Embiid. Maybe with Zion Williamson's injury history, maybe New Orleans takes a shot at him just because they have to sell tickets. Maybe Portland, that's one of the new foundations that get rid of Damian Lillard. Maybe they bring in Joel Embiid to win more games. Maybe San Antonio thinks putting Joel Embiid and Victor Wembanyama together would be one hell of a pair, which it would be. I don't know what the case is going to be, but I think Joel Embiid or Giannis, if Milwaukee does flame out again in the first round, I think he will absolutely request a trade. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo realizes that ever since they won that championship in 2021, the Bucks have been a massive disappointment. I think he was going to ask out, and the Bucks franchise panicked and decided to get Damian Lillard. And if we go into this second season now, and it would be the third straight season where Giannis would be hurt in the postseason, or they don't, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think Giannis would have every right to ask out if it's not his fault. I have Shador and Deion Sanders. I don't know if it's going to be with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if it's going to be with the New York Giants. I don't know if it's going to be with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I think they will both land at the same place, be on the same team in the National Football League next year. It will be one of the biggest sports stories of the year because Deion Sanders, the former great all-pro defensive back with the likes of the Falcons, the Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, will be coaching his son at quarterback next year in the National Football League the way he's done the past few seasons at Colorado in college. I think Shohei Ohtani will bounce back from his shoulder injury. We talked about Ohtani earlier, the 50-50 season, the story he did to bring the Los Angeles Dodgers their first real world title since 1981. I think next year he will have an even bigger story to tell because I think the man who, my good friend who comes on this show a lot, he just came on the show last week, Andy Z, convinced me that he is the best baseball player in the game right now. I think Shohei will win the National League Cy Young Award coming back from that injury. Shohei Ohtani, he will be managed by the Dodgers. He may not have as many starts in the world, but I think he will have a Terrence Skubal-esque dominating performance in the National League next year. Ohtani's arm will finally stay healthy. He will win the National League Cy Young. And then my last sports prediction for 2025, I wanted to hit one or two from every parts of life. So, I talked about here the NFL with Travis Kelce, Aaron Rodgers, and Belichick. I talked about WWE. I talked about the NBA with Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, a little bit of college football and the NFL with Shador and Dion. I talked about, Ohtani winning the NL Cy Young in baseball. I'll just go quickly here to men's March Madness because we haven't really talked about a lot of it because I think the men's March Madness tour has sort of lost its luster a little bit with the lack of stars. But UConn is a back-to-back national champion the way the Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. And I'm not going to predict that in absolute that the Chiefs will or will not win a Super Bowl because we know the NFL, anything can happen any given day. But I will predict here that Dan Early and the UConn's men's basketball team, who, if you remember, Dan Early was almost the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers before he ultimately decided to pass on the opportunity to try to win a third straight at UConn. I don't think he gets it done. And that's a wrap on the Brandon's World 2024 Merry Christmas special. I hope you all enjoy this incredible show, our biggest show in the entire year, recapping the year of 2024 in sports and making some predictions in 2025 with wonderful guests in Jalen Sandvik and Andrew Baca in between. I want to thank all of you for helping Brandon's World grow to the place where it is at today. I want to thank Jen Noga, our co-founder of Voltage Live, for letting us produce this podcast on Voltage Live, which again we are in collaboration of. Don't forget, folks, we're still knocking out content. I'll be back next week with my 2024 NFL Week 15 recaps. That's Week 16 picks as we head into Christmas. But thank you guys so much for listening to the Brandon's World Merry Christmas special. If you are listening on audio, I hope that you enjoyed the Christmas music that was being played for some of the segments today. You guys know I love all of you. This was a massive undertaking. So if you could take a second, leave a review on audio, leave a like on video. Thank you guys so much. And with that, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys at the Brandon's World 2025 Merry Christmas special. Oh, oh, oh. Merry Christmas.